What is going on, everybody? It's episode 221 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. It is so good to see all of you again. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, crisis actors. It's Mary. I'm sorry to have missed you yesterday. I was feeling under the weather, but I'm back in good spirits.
Doing well?
Yeah, I'm doing well.
And we have a guest host today who's making sure she's camera ready. Would you introduce yourself?
Dude, don't expose me. Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys? Don't let Mary lie to you. She took a spontaneous trip to Ireland.
Oh yeah, I was out of the country. No, I was actually hospitalized for a psychiatric hold. So I was losing my mind at the topics we were about to cover today.
And that's funny too, because it's usually me that's losing his mind at the topics that we're going to cover. Before we get into it, I just want to let you guys know that we've been dealing with technical difficulties, working through stuff as we've put a new desktop, a new computer in. So if the stream cuts out today, we do apologize.
But there's also nothing we can do about it if it does.
Yes, I believe we've worked through what we thought was the problem. It has to do with black magic devices, drivers, and the computer. If it cuts out, unfortunately, that will be it for today. But we are hoping that is not the case, right? I've got both my
manifest that we actually get to finish the show today, please.
And here I am. Is there a chat, guys? It's saying no data.
Is it?
I
see the chat going.
Are we good, guys?
What if the chat's just like blocking Brett?
The chat's going.
They don't want him to know.
We're good. All right. It is what it is. It was saying, is that audio?
Somehow this is Shane Cashman's fault.
When I was subbing for you, when you did go on your actual trip to Ireland, the day that we had the worst technical problems was the day Shane was on.
Yeah, and then when I got back, it happened again.
I feel like he is, in fact, carrying some sort of technological faux ghost with him. I don't know how to describe it.
All right, so I'm not hearing feedback in here, but if we're just
see the chat going. Maybe you need to refresh.
No, it's not the chat. Yeah, I'm just making sure the stream's good. We're good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about Alan Moore and his discussion about what he thinks could lead to fascism in the context of superheroes, which is just it is what it is. Alan Moore is an interesting
I
dude.
partly agree with him. We'll get into it.
Yep. So, no, there's definitely parts there that I agree with, but we're going to get into that. So, all right. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about Kanye West because we have to talk about Kanye West. It's literally
stuff keeps happening and it's hard to keep up.
Yep. So we're going to do that, and then afterwards we're going to talk about Velma, which I'm so sick of.
You said it so loudly, I was shocked.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't care about Velma, but we're going to talk about it because they've made it culturally relevant.
It's bizarre because I don't think that Velma has a fan base, but they're really invested in ruining this character for the few people who were.
So weird. It's so weird. I don't care about, I can't believe that there's people that do, that this much.
Yeah.
But it is culturally relevant, so we're going to get into it. We got that. We got Podluck. We got a bunch of other stuff. So if you ladies are ready, we will just get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
We're ready.
Claire, are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So it says infantile love for Batman and other superheroes can be a precursor to fascism, says comic book legend Alan Moore. First, actually, what we should do first is define fascism, because this is another one of, like communism, like socialism, has been part of the cultural zeitgeist now, and it's some people will define it as whatever
he kind of just threw that out there and didn't explain why.
So the dictionary definition says an authoritarian and nationalistic right-wing system of government and social organization. The funny thing is there's a lot of different properties that have covered this fairly well. Marvel did their Civil War storyline, and in the movies they covered that fairly well between Tony Stark and Captain America, with Tony Stark being more or less okay with the idea of government intervention, reining in superheroes and preventing them from being able to do be able to do all that they want to do. Whereas Captain America basically says, if I see something going wrong, I have to be able to do something about it. I can't stand by and let a government tell me what I can and can't help with. right?
Yeah.
And Batman vs. Superman has a similar idea when they talk about Superman having basically unlimited power. And like the idea was always funny of like reining it in, because it's kind of, that's like, you're basically relying on his good graces to rein it in, because they can't actually do anything about it. But so this is not an uncommon thing. And the movie V for Vendetta definitely gets in for, based on the comic book by Alan Moore, gets into the concept of fascist government systems in a dystopian future.
I understand drawing political parallels with superhero movies.
Thank you.
When it's either commenting on the relationship between the superhero and government or law enforcement, or it's about the archetypes that the superheroes represent, that the audience is called to aspire to.
Yeah. But
I don't see how it connects to fan base's enthusiasm for the franchise.
Yeah.
I think that this is Alan Moore's disillusionment or fatigue with the whole industry that he's been in for decades.
He's always been. I mean, he's been disillusioned for decades.
Yeah, he's trying to like express that, and he's identifying the symptoms of a disease that's definitely present in entertainment and specifically the comic book industry, but he's misdiagnosing the real root issue.
So he says, I said around about 2011 that I thought it had serious and worrying implications for the future if millions of adults were queuing up to see Batman movies, because that kind of infantilization, that urge towards simpler times, simpler realities, that can often be a precursor to fascism. The funniest part about this to me is that if his idea is in the picture I posted of him today is him with a hammer and sickle t-shirt on from like back in the day, that's that tends to be he's saying fascism. If he was saying authoritarianism, which would be more all-encompassing, right? But he's saying, he's directing it one way, but it's the left that tends to be the one that pushes towards folksy aphorisms and slogans that sound great but don't have a whole lot of meat behind them, right? Mm-hmm. So I think he's misdiagnosing where he thinks that's coming from. Like the people that would actually fall into that, because it's the dorky.
I mean, his claim seems to be specifically linked to when The Dark Knight Rises came out, and there was a huge debate over whether it was a right-wing themed movie or whether it was just a Batman movie. I think that there is a weird relationship between creators, and I'm not super familiar with this person, between wanting to champion certain causes and also not being able to accept when the public has a specific view of what's created, right? So Batman is a right-wing movie now, which I don't know that it necessarily is. It's just been linked to that in popular political and social commentary lore.
Well, they talk a lot about how Batman is a servant to the state for the police, meaning that he beats up the really low IQ version is that he beats up like criminals who are just stealing bread. The idea that he beats up and those are some of my favorite.
But then when it comes to actual corruption, he doesn't pay attention to it.
But
this isn't even about the characters. It's about the psychology of the fans, which is rather presumptuous.
Well, I would say that the people he's talking about, the people lining up to see these movies, I would think more along the lines of the Marvel NPCs.
I'm thinking of like the soy facing poggers,
and I can't know where they're good, like how they vote, but I can infer. I can infer where their general belief systems fall.
And it's totally fair to say that like these franchises, these characters, these movies actually mean too much to them compared to real life or compared to real relationships or real stories or
even politics. Like if they paid as close attention to what was going on in the real world outside of their echo chamber, they would be a whole lot better informed than being in an echo chamber and then using this type of material like graphic novels as a guideline for their morality.
And it's true that also the comic book industry, and now like that they're being adapted into movies, it's undergone a weird evolution as its fan base has grown older, where it's not being adopted by the next generation of kids that were originally the fan base, and it's the toys are now being called collectibles. The cartoons are now being called animations.
Yeah, did you read a comment?
Yes.
Yeah, it was really, really smart that they give everything like an adult name because it's like it's not a toy, it's a collectible. It's not a.
They don't want to be ageist, you know. They don't want to make grown men who watch this stuff feel bad about themselves.
That's
and
true.
It's all been converted into an adult-friendly interest, but then the themes are just as juvenile.
Yes. And
the stories are just as simplistic.
When you guys sent me this article today and I read the headline, infantile love for Batman and other superheroes can be a precursor to fascism, I actually thought, before I read the article, that he meant, like, because they believe someone else is going to come save them and take care of, like, the bad guys.
But it wasn't
that
even
was,
that.
like, what he meant by that. And it's not, like, which makes this even more sort of boring to me. Sorry, Alan Moore. I think I'm not trying to bash anyone who really enjoys superhero movies. It's not necessarily my thing, but I do think that this idea that like someone is going to swoop in and save you from the evils of your city, whether it be because the government is corrupt or whatever, like that would lend itself to fascism to me, because you're always looking for someone else to solve your problems. I don't necessarily think that's the message of superhero movies, but again, I feel like this guy has missed the mark on what he's interpreting.
Funnily enough, I think you could make the same, it's not a judgment. You could make the same analysis going the other direction if we were to talk about cop and military shows, which absolutely produce a simplistic view of what police officers do, or a glorified view of what police officers do, what the military does, to show them in a good light. And that would go, I think, the other way.
And that's a proven phenomenon that people who watch Law and Order SVU, for example, they are proven to have skewed perceptions of the rate of victims that get justice.
And I say that as someone who loves those are my favorite genres of shows. But when I watch it, like I'm like, man, it would be cool if it was actually this simplistic.
But not a lot of people are able to make that distinction.
Well, and you have to couple it with real life media. So we don't have that for superheroes, obviously. But like if you watch a Law and Order SVU or a crime show, there's a podcast that I used to listen to a lot called Small Town Dicks, and it's like two police officers who interview anonymously people they've worked with and talk about cases that they've been through. And the biggest contrast to the two TV and movies that they always say is like, it takes an extremely long time to get DNA, to get justice. Like we'll be going to court over these things for years. And that's not a reality in crime TV shows. And so I think in some ways superhero movies are insulated from some of those realities because we know it's actually based in lore and it's based in fiction. I would point out that, you know, there are movies that sort of glorify the military or cops or whatever else, but they aren't enough to turn around recruitment rates. I mean, there are other factors playing into that, but we don't really see media as enough of an influence over people's behavior to make them want to become cops or police or military members at high rates. In the same way that like superhero movies, I don't necessarily see people, I don't know what the correlation would be. You know, you volunteer to be in your local fire department or whatever else. Like, I don't think anyone is pursuing becoming more authoritarian because they watch a superhero movie. In fact, I feel like it teaches people to be submissive in some ways.
And I would argue that like it does speak to the infantilization, the lack of people growing up and actually like we talk about not building fully formed lives, and they're staying children for far longer than they used to. And they kind of live and embody, and they want to embody these characters in their mind rather than kind of growing up and moving on.
I think it like makes people not need to distill what values the movies that they loved growing up had, and learning how to apply them into your adult life now.
There's also this, when they talk about the dominance of superhero movies, it's not the reason for Trump, but it's a symptom of the emotional infantilization society has gone through, which resulted in the election of Trump. You could say that of any political opponent who tells people what they want to hear in order to get votes, right? Like, I don't see that as being unique to him. If anything, I would say that the right tends to be more facts and data driven, though there's still a whole lot of tribalism on both sides. I would say that the infantilization is far more of an issue going the other direction.
That's taking a huge liberty from what Alan Moore even said, though. And he's referring more to the behavior of fandoms, which we've talked about before. the overextended adolescence that's encouraged among the MCU stans and the Disney stans and
that's what I'm thinking.
The Star Wars stans, the ones who just blindly have faith in these franchises and look to entertainment products for the meaning in their lives.
And I would
that's
argue,
the emotional infantilization that we're noticing.
And I would say that if you looked to if you took a survey of like people who were large fans of those franchises, you're going to see a lot of trust in authority and a lot of trust in institutions that you just wouldn't see going the other direction.
And it's trust in private institutions, not in the government. Weirdly enough, it seems to be. It's definitely distinctly not authoritarianism or like totalitarianism by force, but it comes from the down going upwards. Yeah. Like this is the distinction a lot of people make between 1984 and Brave New World. Yeah. 1984 is the totalitarianism by force, by violence, by threats, and then Brave New World is enforced from the bottom upwards.
I pointed that out. I was pointing that out to somebody when a lot of the stuff was going on with COVID and people, and like I started noticing people were really getting upset that they couldn't go to Disney. They couldn't go to Disney World, and I'm like, it's like they had that their minor reality break from all the things that were there. We were distracting them with to keep them sustained and docile.
What about your ability to go to your family member's funeral?
Yeah,
like I don't know, like that allegiance to a private institution like Disney or like the DCEU or whatever it may be. It's worrisome. It's just not worrisome for the same reasons Alan Moore is identifying, I think.
And I mean, like, I get the idea that I think what, like, if you're trying to infer that what he's saying is like you want somebody to come and solve your problems for you. But one of the core things that becomes an issue with a lot of these characters is the idea that just because you have the ability to do that, does that give you the right to do that, right? Like Tony Stark invented the Iron Man suit and then essentially just told the government they couldn't have it. And
seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and so you get people on both sides of the equation. That was kind of one of the beautiful things about the movie Captain America: Civil War, is that they presented both of the main characters with a side of that coin, meaning that Tony Stark, after suffering loss, felt like it was okay to be reined in, and that maybe they shouldn't have all the power in the world. But then we ask,
I don't agree with that.
Then we ask, but giving that power to a government means what, right? Their version of the UN. And Captain America holds a more classic view of like, look, if I see somebody in danger, I'm going to help them no matter who tells me I can or I can't. But then the question is like, then the big dilemma always ends up being like, well, what if that person isn't a good person? Why is it always like we assume that person with all those powers is going to end up being a good guy when we know that that's not how the real world works?
Yeah, the archetypes that different superheroes embody, they differ a lot, and I understand analyzing that as how they propagandize people politically into like in the direction of certain extremist ideologies, but again, like that's not what Alan Moore was even saying. He was talking about how he finds the comic industry tiresome these days because of all the things attached to it, not what's happening to the movies or the comic books themselves, like not the stories, but the fans. He's basically saying that the fans are the problem.
And he's not wrong.
He's partially right.
He's not wrong, but he's not right. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Alan Moore. I think he's kind of pretentious. I've always thought.
Yeah, I just get tired of these like armchair diagnosis of potential fascism. I don't need it.
Neil Gaiman. I've never been huge fans, but it is what it is. It is interesting though because they want to have these debates, but they very rarely. Like I said, he posted a picture with him. Like the picture I've used of him today is him wearing a hammer and sickle, and we all know that's every bit is control oriented, and it's just a different type of power, right? Mm-hmm. So it's I don't know. I find it funny because Alan Moore to me has always been kind of insufferable, but he kind of always comes around every so often. And from what I understand, I don't keep up with it, that his new books don't sell all that well comparatively to the stuff that he's done in the past.
A lot of the comments were just saying that he is a wannabe intellectual and he's not as funny as he used to be, and he's just like grasping at straws.
Yeah. And like I said, he made V for Vendetta, the comic, and the movie V for Vendetta is actually quite quite good in the way that it describes overt authoritarianism from the government, right? And the meltdown of the system is
that's a different time period.
Yes, well, that's given in a dystopian future, but it was made in 2006, and that movie coming out now would never be made with the level of nuance that it was made with back then. But I rewatched it recently, and the guy who plays Chancellor Sutler, he's freaking great. Getting to see all those characters, but I just don't think that they would be able to make that movie with the same level of nuance and characterization that they would be now. And like I said, this is slightly off topic, but the character of Evie would never be able to be as awesome as she was in that movie, because she would be girl bossed up. Like, she's already like extremely strong in that movie, but they would end up making her insufferable if they made that movie now. So thank goodness that they're not continuing that. So
yeah.
All right.
Let's go to super
chats.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, "Welcome back, Crisis Crew. We missed y'all yesterday."
Oh, we missed you guys. Trust us. It's
the feeling's mutual.
I don't like taking days off. I don't. I was like sitting around, like we're trying to get this stuff all worked out. You weren't feeling well. I was like, what do I do with this free time? I have no idea. I don't know what to do.
What did you do?
Well, I never get to go skate at 3 p.m., so I got to go skate.
Oh, look at that.
I got to actually go to
join the crew.
Yeah, join the crew for the skate session.
Felt so included.
Yes, see, that's the real inclusion right there. I got included.
I need to stop watching YouTube. I am not reading that. And Potatoes for Seamus said, "I'm not going to read that, LOL." Yeah, you were right. Nathan Settlemeyer.
Go back up 1 sec. To Potatoes for Seamus, he sent me an instant message about about something. I'm going to get back to you today. I will respond to that. I was like halfway through responding to that right before we started today, so okay. I will get back to you, dude.
Nathan Settlemeyer said, "Oh, wow."
Oh, wow.
Waffle Sensei said, "Wokeness is fascism, Mussolini's definition, and superheroes are woke now," so he is accidentally correct, just not in the way he wanted.
I think that seems to be the number one takeaway from everyone here. Is like, he's kind of right, but he just has no clue why.
Mm-hmm. Waffle Sensei also said fascism should be more appropriately called corporatism because it's a merger of state and corporate power. Benito Mussolini.
And that one is not covered that much in the movie. Like, they're very rarely is it smartly covered when they talk about how the corporatization of our government and the way that they interfere with everything. Because it would take really, really good writing and really, really good storytelling.
It would also take aim at the people producing it.
Exactly.
So that's never going to happen.
It would really hurt their ESG score, let's be real.
It's kind of like... well, it did...
Are you worried for some reason?
Yes, no, I was just checking something. Go back.
Okay.
We're good.
You're like so worried.
No, I was just I was reading the next one of the super chats and I was fixing something.
Okay. Caper2X said, "Brett, do you understand that the fascism definition was changed to add a right-wing description? Welcome back, Beanie Mary and Farmer, Hannah Claire." How is she a farmer?
They don't get the farmer thing, but thank you. Farmers are great.
For wearing a baseball
Farmers
cap?
produce the food in our country. I respect them tremendously. Do you know Chuck Grassley, the senator, is one of 2 active farmers currently in the U.S. Congress?
I did not
That'd be a
know
fun
that.
fact.
How does he find the time?
Technically, his son runs his farm. There's a question over the active.
I did know that, but I was operating under the assumption of like that's the reason I used the picture of him with the hammer and sickle. I'm going by what Alan Moore's definition of what fascism is, not what the actual definition of fascism is.
Brett asked us to look up fascism, the definition of fascism before we started the show, and I thought to myself, like, I need to bring up a dictionary from 1950 and then from 2000 to compare how it's, because the internet won't tell you now, but we'll all use the internet to search.
I want to be honest right now. That is one of the most frustrating things about the internet to me now is like you I don't even want to look up stuff I know, because then you see like how it's all been changed. Like everything is different now from what it was. Like, that's terrifying and disturbing. And the reason that bothers me so much is I imagine the people that are uninitiated to what's going on in the world are now being misled.
Well,
and there's no way to fix that.
And I think of it as being younger generations who will always have had the internet as a resource. So the idea that I'm going to buy a physical dictionary and reference it will at one point not be at all the thought that kids today have because they're so used to relying on the internet as a theoretically trustworthy source.
Caper2X said, Brett, were you on yesterday? We miss you guys.
No, we were, Mary wasn't feeling well. We've been dealing with...
They played hooky, guys.
Yeah, we're just like the hell with this.
We went to Disney.
Yeah, we went to Disneyland and we rode...
Splash Mountain.
Splash Mountain, sure.
Nathan Settlemeyer said, I used to think... I don't want to say that.
She doesn't want to say it. That's okay.
Where is that from, though?
I don't know.
Are you quoting something?
What?
I don't get it. David Christian said, finally caught you live. I usually watch you late at night at work while I do a huge mass mailing.
Cool.
What,
mass mailing? What is like?
I don't know.
That's cool.
That's cool. Not Alan Rogers said, Mary, please break all my toes with pliers.
Well, that is a hell of a request right there.
People get so weird when they're anonymous on the internet.
Yeah. I guess he's not Alan Rogers, therefore he's anonymous. David Christian said, eating homemade ramen, 3 days of hard labor, 10 minutes of bliss. That sounds nice. Hobbit said, did Party Progress Bar go away?
I fixed it.
It's there.
That's what I was looking at before.
Part of our technical difficulties,
yes.
actually.
Yep, we're working on it. And we love you guys so much for bearing with us.
Do you guys like having a Party Progress Bar? I'm asking the chat. I'm curious.
They like it?
Well, clearly, yeah.
I think they probably do.
You know, what they've accomplished so far.
I wonder if they just want to be on edge like the rest of us, being like, I have no idea when it's coming, or if they want to know how close they are, what power they wield.
Yeah.
I think we only added the party count because they were asking for one.
Yeah.
Dragon's Talon 1001 said, I want to see Hannah Claire do the sports cast for a NASCAR race. Oh, look, they're making another left turn.
I ran track in high school pretty seriously, so I actually, prefer things that make left turns. I find it reminiscent of my days as a student athlete. But sure, I mean, I'm really going to tell you I know nothing about cars, but it could be fun.
How do you even commentate on that?
They're going around.
That
one hit the other one. That one's taking a rest.
Whoa.
Oh. And then it's over.
I've never watched a NASCAR anything in my life.
I don't
I've
know
heard
what the appeal is.
people who like NASCAR that like going to the events is really fun and that there is like really a big sense of community. But I've never really followed it. I didn't grow up with anyone who watched it either.
Going in person is different, though. I watch it on a TV. Yeah. I need to stop watching YouTube said everything is pitifully cringe now, this included. I think you included.
That all of us, if we're cringe, if Ellen Moore's cringe, then we're all cringe together, my friend.
He's talking about Batman being cringe or this?
Us. Maybe he meant
everything.
Us. Like us.
We need a clarifying super chat.
Alan Moore, what? Blake Olson said heroes and legends being a part of culture long before comics were a thing. Kirby made Cap to be an American Achilles. American ideals made flesh.
Yep. And that's funny too, because that's like, it's kind of like a microcosm of the argument so much of us make when we talk about like, if you have so much disdain for the government, how can you love the country so much? Because I don't love the government. I love the country. I love the ideals the country stands for. I love the people that represent those ideals in the everyday.
Yeah, and I also think it's important to consider the fact that the American federal government has evolved tremendously from when it was formed. I wouldn't necessarily say this wave of federal government is the same as the founders' vision.
I need to stop watching YouTube said I mean the superhero fanboys. This show is not.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. We're relieved.
Yeah.
This person is like, I don't even like it here.
And we're like, fine.
Okay,
we want you to like it, though.
Censor Conservative Mom 98 said, commented something about fascism from my account on my phone. Watching on my husband's account on laptop, saw on my phone, but didn't come up on my laptop. YouTube censorship for the win. Where did your money go, though? I don't understand.
Also, are you the mom who watches with her like little baby? Someone super chatted on IRL the other weeks ago when I was on.
Oh,
like,
really?
I watched this after school with my like 2-year-old baby, and I was like, yes, excellent, good.
There was Ivory Hecker posted something like, I think it was about the PayPal situation that was going on recently. And she posted a couple of other things that were, they just seemed too spicy. I wish I could remember off the top of my head what they were. And when I tried to like the post, it wouldn't let me like the post. And when you tried to open the post that she was linking to, it wouldn't let you open the post. And then I screen recorded a video of me like not being able to, sent it to her, and it wouldn't send the video of that being sent of the video of them basically. It wouldn't let me send a video of their censorship to her.
What were you trying to send it to her on?
I just on Instagram.
Yeah, you have to start using encrypted chats and stuff like that for. Like we have to leave all this stuff behind.
Believe it or not, it wasn't that important. So
it's all right. It is important though.
But it's trying to convince you that it wasn't important.
Well, let's remember that technology is deleting and altering definitions. They won't let you spread certain information. Like this is authoritarianism.
Oh yeah. Yep.
That's how I feel about kiwi farms getting shut down. That's so out of line. It came back eventually, but I didn't think it was going to. Nathan Settlemeyer said, "Super bad perception of police work." Yeah, that shaped my whole
view
opinion of police. Matt said, #CritLib a few years back was woke librarians.
So I remember the
what does this mean?
The I don't know what that's in reference to. It's like, but woke librarians, that's a thing. Like that's like a lot of a lot of where like how they make their money in comics now is like it's like Scholastic Book Fair, like basically like bulk orders for these comics that no kid goes to the library and buys because they're all on their phones.
Woke people also run all of the independent bookstores.
Yeah, that's how Antifa spreads in small towns in America.
Yeah, that's like if you go into a small bookshop and then they send you over to their
thing.
Yeah, I have always wanted to open a bookstore. My brother and I are sort of like semi in the process of considering what that would look like right now, and all the comparable shops that we look at to research like potential competitors are always left leaning.
No matter where you go.
No matter where you go.
It's an extension of the arts, right?
There are a couple that are like they've been around forever, kind of community bookstores that are okay-ish. They might already be slightly left because they're in left towns, but like if you're looking at anything in a red state, if it's an independent bookstore, it tends to lean completely left, which why? And also conservatives. I know I'm the resident book nerd here, but like open bookstores.
Where would you want to start one though?
Portland.
Do you really want me to tell you? I want to start one right now in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, because it's the farthest. If anyone steals my business idea, I will be livid.
Don't say any names for what you would call it.
I won't tell you, but it's within the 2-hour range of DC. It has a ton of tourist traffic. There isn't a bookstore there, but there's an independent bookstore in the 2 counties in West Virginia preceding it, as if you were to drive from DC out to Berkeley Springs. So I really think it needs I don't even want it to be political, but just like an independent bookstore that isn't super woke, because there has been there's a number of businesses there that are cool, but their owners are all extreme left. So just to sort of, I don't even call it fighting back, just like to have businesses that are good for communities. It's good to have books for young children to read and hold.
Let's read the next 2, and then we'll go to the next topic.
Ferret Rose 83 said there's been adult love of comics since the 70s, so Alan Moore can stick it on his fear of fascism.
They love it. They love to talk about I just know how much they love it coming out of their mouth. Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He said also shout out to PCC, especially Hannah Claire.
Oh, thanks, team.
Special.
Can I make a preemptive request?
Yes.
Can we turn these lights different colors for like holidays? Like I don't think you could do black with the lights, right? But like
something for Halloween.
Orange and then like Christmas red and green.
Orange and gray, maybe like a dark.
Ooh, red and green for December would be fun.
Come on, team.
We can do that.
Instead of the like things that like shakes jingle bells or something, where it's like Santa's booming laugh.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure it out.
Yeah. Christopher Poole will get on that.
Chris will have to figure it out. And when I say we'll have to figure it out, I mean Chris.
We'll delegate that.
That's part of our job here, is to delegate.
And Hobbit said when everything becomes cringe, nothing is.
Yes, that is.
I'm not so sure, but we'll test that theory out as time goes on.
All right, guys, we're going to move on because Kanye West is back in the news. Mary, why don't you tell us all about it?
Did he leave the news? You're saying back.
He's controlling the news.
He is sustaining his place in the news.
Yes. So he continues to provoke with not only his art, but with his social media posts. And he's recently been suspended from both Instagram and Twitter. I'm not even sure if I can repeat the things he's posted, but like, I guess I'll go for it. As long as I'm quoting it, I'm allowed to say it, right? It doesn't have any slurs in it, but
it's going to get clipped. Whatever you say will get clipped.
Okay, but I don't know how I can tell you guys what he posted without
just write on your notebook really quickly. Kanye said this and hold it up while you read it.
It's too long. Okay, he tweeted on Sunday exactly this. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda. And he followed it up with another tweet that is not deleted, saying, who you think created cancel culture?
Which I just want to embroider who you think it created cancel culture on a sweatshirt.
Yeah, I think that's
such
funny.
a fun philosophical question.
It's open to interpretation.
Who is John Galt?
And it's funny because he misspelled DEFCON 3.
I hope he really thinks it's DEFCON.
It's just kind of funny.
It's way
like
cooler.
Defense Con 3.
It's way cooler if he thinks
the seriousness with which this tweet is being reacted to, it is like he literally didn't think enough about it to do a spell check, because that's about like different U.S. armed forces like readiness levels.
Yeah. Also,
it's DEF.
Everyone reacting to it to virtue signal that they disagree with him is making it bigger than it ever would have been if the media had just left it alone to die on like his crazy Twitter thread.
Because Sarah Silverman tweets the same day, like, wow, I can't believe the silence is so loud. I can't believe no one is calling this out. Like, why do I have to fight for us?
As literally everyone is calling it out.
Yeah, and he got understandably flamed on Twitter for this all weekend.
One of the things I love
days after.
One of the things I love about Kanye is that he says a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily agree with too. And I had the same issue when we were watching the Tucker Carlson interview, where I watched like Tucker Carlson tee up all these like, as much as I agree with a lot of what they say, you can very clearly see like the positioning of like, this is our guy on our side of the aisle. And I hate that on both sides.
Kanye doesn't even court that.
No, he does. That's what I'm saying. That's what I hated about the Tucker Carlson part, is he's like, oh, and we thought before we call you crazy that we'll just we'll do this interview first. Like you weren't doing this for political posturing and points. But the beautiful thing about Kanye is he doesn't think that way. He doesn't. He just thinks he just says what he thinks, and he's not really thinking about it as a team sport like everyone else is.
I just like the idea that he is like hanging out with whoever Kanye West hangs out when he's like, you think they're mad now? Watch, I'm gonna tweet this thing and make them even more mad.
Somebody was telling me Trump would do the same thing, like where he was like, they were like in the Oval Office, and he's like want to see something really funny, and like he posted like, he's like, I can make them respond with this in like less than 5 minutes, and like within like five, I don't remember what it was. I think it was Jack Posobiec.
That's all of the media is trying to keep up with Kanye West, even though they're mad at him. He sets the tone and narrative, and like, it's not that I agree with this sentiment, although I'm not even sure I like fully follow what his like specific complaints are. I just think it's funny that they are like, Kanye, stop. Who was like, Jamie Lee Curtis is like, you are a father. Please stop. Except he decides when it's over. Like, they can't do anything without him.
Yeah, that's why I think his favor for Trump was more of a personality compatibility thing than anything political, which it's so funny that they had to frame it as a political allegiance. Like, I don't even think he knows about Trump's policies or like what his presidency was like or what decisions he made and what lasting effects
I think it's just like
he likes his personality.
Like game respects game kind of thing. Like he just sees it.
So
he knows what it's like to have opinions that aren't very popular and have to stand by them as everyone pushes back on you, which is not something everyone can do.
Do you guys feel like he should have gotten kicked off Twitter for all of this?
No. I don't think anyone should be getting kicked off Twitter unless they're doing something illegal with
if you can't even say DEF CON properly, I feel like it shouldn't be taken seriously.
No. And then his temporary suspension from Instagram was prompted by something he posted on Friday. So P. Diddy is one of the many celebrities who gave him pushback for the White Lives Matter t-shirts that he showed at Paris Fashion Week. And he actually went to Kanye directly, which I respect. He texted him about it, and Kanye then screenshotted a part of their conversation and posted it on Instagram.
Everyone should have known you should not be contacting Kanye.
I don't know why everyone is having these long text arguments with Kanye when they know it's going to get posted.
Send him a voice memo. Like, don't.
But then he'll just record
it, to be fair.
And then post that.
You know what I mean? At least on it. Like, if you send him a wall of text, you know, it was
Yes.
clear exactly where it was going to
Yes.
end up on his Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, why are we
He
pretending?
said- he
otherwise?
said-
At least
it.
Kim has learned this.
Yeah.
He sends it. He's sitting there waiting for a response, and all of a sudden he gets a notification that says has been screenshotted. And he's like, "Damn it, damn it!"
So,
But maybe that's part of it. You want evidence that you are standing up to evil man Kanye.
I guess, yeah, it is posturing too. So in the screenshot, Kanye West wrote to P. Diddy, "I'm going to use you as an example to show the Jewish people that told you to call me that no one can threaten or influence me." So that's like the extent of his anti-Semitic posts that got him kicked off temporarily.
AOC had stuff to say about it.
He's been called out by literally everyone.
I
in the
didn't
book.
even know there was a Black Jewish Entertainment Alliance.
I didn't either.
They are like having their moment. This is our cross section of issues.
We've got Diane Warren, Jack Antonoff, Joe
No.
DiMaggio.
No Ilhan Omar.
No Ilhan Omar. Interesting.
The silence is deafening.
The
Deafening.
silence is so loud. Yeah, he's been called out by the ADL. He's been
Yeah, but
called
they
out
call
by
it
the
everything.
Creative Community for Peace, whatever that is. Every
What?
blue check
Okay.
mark you can think of.
What the hell is the Creative Community for Peace?
I don't know. They just have a blue check and we're
What the-
supposed to trust them.
What
And
the
also,
hell
like,
does that
how
even
many
mean?
followers do they have? Like 3.
What the hell does that even mean?
I mean, they're for
They have
peace.
they have a blue check with 2,255 followers.
That's
Like,
why I hate the blue check,
doesn't
because
make
it
any
gives
sense.
people and organizations credibility when they've done nothing to earn it.
I'm starting a
think
group
someone
called Short People for Peace.
I think someone followed me on Twitter who just used a version of the blue check and like put it in their Twitter name.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't understand what's happening. Why is it white? Is that just like the way my screen is coming up? I thought it was hilarious. It makes them look legitimate while making fun of this whole blue check thing.
Short
Yeah.
People for Peace. Who's with me?
I'd rather be with people for violence and discord.
I would be the leader of that
Yes,
organization.
you absolutely would.
And then there's been more fallout with his social media posts. He reposted a video from Azalea Banks calling Gigi Hadid a Cabbage Patch Kid in comparison to her Barbie doll sister, Bella Hadid.
Also, Lizzo said that she doesn't know what he's talking about. She's just minding her big, beautiful business. So
Her
Love that
her
edit.
big, fat, black, beautiful business. That is what she said.
I don't remember the fat part. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was in there.
Okay.
That was in there, yeah.
well,
and
she-
that was prompted by a part of Kanye's Tucker interview where he mentioned Lizzo. He also mentioned Lizzo on Instagram before that, but
Yeah.
he was talking about how she always gets backlash about losing weight.
That's the funny thing is everything he said should have been helpful, and nobody's taking
His
it as
point was
helpful.
like, it's weird that you would give someone backlash for losing weight when being that overweight is clinically unhealthy. And
Yeah, but that's
he
a
said
base-
You're
it's
not
like-
allowed to say that.
that's a
either.
base assumption you're not allowed to have anymore.
Yeah,
So-
well, his point was that it's like coming from a demonic place to genuinely wish ill on someone if they're trying to lose weight,
the moment,
which
like,
is a valid point.
when he talks about that, and when he talks about abortion being such a huge issue, those are inherently like they will not allow you to carry those beliefs.
And
They don't.
abortion in particular is something that he's spoken about, like he was personally affected by a situation like this, where he said that one of his children with Kim, she was considering aborting her child. And it caused him tremendous pain to recall that.
I also want to point out that every time that he brings this stuff up, they go right back. Like for all the people who talk about how we need to be, we have to have compassion for people, and that we need to understand that people are suffering. They love to use mental illness against him. They love it. That's
And, I think it's such a manipulation of the conversation that they are all responding to the anti-Semitism controversy saying, wow, mental illness isn't an excuse to act like this, when no one claimed that mental illness was the reason he said these things or excused it as like he's mentally ill, he can say whatever he wants.
Yep.
No one said that.
Nope.
They're bringing it up to discredit him in the most slimy way possible. And they're the ones who always pay lip service to mental health advocacy, but they don't mean any of it. You're only met with a loving, accepting community by these people if you stay in line,
Toe the
you
line.
stay on script, and you do what they want. And that's why he hates them so much. He hates feeling like he has to comply. He hates feeling micromanaged, psychoanalyzed.
And this happens for anyone that gets out of line for any of the marginalized groups.
Can I read you a Kim Kardashian tweet from 2018? It was after one of the times that Kanye did something and the media was like, he's crazy. He has bipolar disorder, which he does. She says, to the media trying to demonize my husband, let me just say this. Your commentary on Kanye being erratic and his tweets being disturbing is actually scary. So quick to label him as having mental health issues for just being himself when he has always been expressive is not fair.
Yeah.
I feel like we should just retweet this one again.
I miss when he had this support from Kim and now he's kind of just floating and he's on his own and he doesn't feel like he has support as a co-parent, as a man, as an artist in any way.
Meanwhile, she is like taking out all of her implants. She looks like a little bit like she's losing tons of weight. Like they need each other. They are meant to be together.
I know. Like we need Kim Ye back.
So if we take away, I'm not a huge fan of what he said regarding Jewish people. In general, the rest of everything he said in that Tucker interview, I tended to like most of it, and I enjoyed a lot of that interview. But is the base assumption here now supposed to be that you either toe the line 110% or you're mentally ill and should be disregarded?
There are certain topics that I feel like you are absolutely never supposed to cross in any way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's like if he wasn't mentally ill, then they would be using the excuse of he's just a bigot.
Well, they're saying he's mentally ill and a bigot.
Yeah, I think they're saying
and those are
both.
two reasons that we can discredit anything he says now.
It's
anything he creates. I think it's so disgusting and unfair that like after he has volunteered this information about himself, like gotten very personal with the public, and maybe that's a bad idea, but he did it out of a place of sincerity, that it's been twisted against him to this degree. Like he only shared that he was diagnosed with bipolar in 2018. He was hospitalized for a psych eval for the first time in 2016. And ever since then, it's just been like controversy after controversy after controversy where more and more people throw him into this box of he's crazy, don't listen to anything he says. But then in another context, they're perfectly willing to be supportive of people that have mental health struggles.
The foil for me is Demi Lovato, right? She has also been very public about her bipolar disorder diagnosis, and anything she does is considered good and acceptable and valiant. All of her actions that you might like, we talked about her song where she basically calls out Wilmer Valderrama. Thank you, team. On their age difference and when they got together when she was underage, which like I'm not saying that's wrong to do, but like in other circumstances you would have wanted that person to handle that matter privately or through the court system. I think that we glorify people whose bipolarism doesn't disrupt left narrative, whereas Kanye West, I don't think necessarily any of this has to do with his bipolar diagnosis, but also it's causing him to be crazy, quote unquote, and I don't believe that, in a way that they don't like, right? His erratic behavior calls attention to some of the problems with left narrative, and therefore it's bad. Whereas like if you looked at how unhappy Demi Lovato was, especially through all of her gender issues, that had nothing to do with being bipolar. That really just had to do with, her truth and whatever buzzwords they give you.
She's had erratic behavior for a long time too. I think the only time she's gotten backlash is when she put that like froyo business on blast on social media.
She's like, how dare they put all those great tasting options right at the front? Don't you tell I'm trying to lose weight here? Right?
Well, no, it was about them having like sugar-free options.
Stuff,
and she was like, that's playing into diet culture, and
all the diabetics are like, no, disagree
Like,
hardcore.
excuse me, can I have froyo too?
I really do believe that the ability to like intellectualize and give labels to a bunch of stuff, like just the term diet culture sucks. Just being able to give it a term that you can then use in some statement you use to destroy some small business, but sound like semi-intelligent while you do it. I hate that.
I mean, thankfully that business recovered from that. They were review bombed by Demi Lovato stans for a while, but they did recover, and eventually she had to apologize, etc. But anyway,
remember
that's besides the point.
I also want to talk. Did you look into him doing the interview, or he did the sit down with Gabriella Carefa Johnson? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, I never watched that because I couldn't find it on YouTube. Was that posted anywhere?
That did happen though, right? They did sit down.
Yes, they did.
One of the other issues that I have with all of this is that as they sit from the stands, now by that I mean like he's saying these things publicly, but somehow he becomes on one side of like a giant set, like an aisle with like a wall separating them. So he's over here, and then everyone else. Here. And then everyone else is there on the other side, but somehow he is like they get to lob stuff at him, nothing happens, right? Like they get to lob stuff at him, nothing happens. He lobs stuff back at them. Suddenly he's attacking them.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
And it's not even punching down because he doesn't have any support anymore.
Yeah,
like except for I guess like he has a faction of diehard fans.
He's got
defend
Trump.
him, but like. He doesn't have institutional support anymore.
Nope.
His business contracts are in a questionable state. Like, I don't know if his contract with Adidas is going to last because...
But Adidas has said on multiple occasions that, like, he basically has given their brand relevancy in this modern culture that they couldn't have sustained on or achieved on their own. Like, it's crazy that they are willing to throw him under the bus or part ways with him over stuff that... you know, I think should fall under the category of free speech. Obviously, I wouldn't, support, like, I wouldn't support if he is, like, actually advocating violence or anything like that. But, like, him saying stuff that makes people upset shouldn't be grounds for termination of positive business partnerships.
I mean, my guess was that Kanye's chaotic social media behavior, specifically with calling out Adidas and their creative director, was his attempt to get that contract terminated because he didn't want to be in it anymore.
Interesting.
Very smart.
And that seems like it's possibly going to work, especially after these new posts. I didn't expect that, especially after the Tucker interview. He seems like nothing in the Tucker interview is objectionable in any way.
I said I take more of an issue with Tucker and like the not him but the all political pundits on both sides, right? That they like as soon as you say something they like, they're like, oh, well, come on.
He's our guy.
Come on over here. He's our guy. Before we call you crazy, we thought we should just sit down and have a discussion with you. Like, yeah, because you know you're politically aligned right now. And I hate that. I hate that on both sides.
That even happened when Shia LaBeouf openly talked about converting to Catholicism, and then all of these Catholics are like, hey, he's our guy. Yeah. And that's not an ethical thing to do because you don't know this person. You don't know his real intentions because he's not your friend, and it's his personal business whether or not he has converted in earnest.
It's funny too because that's the stuff that reminds me just how like alone I am in the in the political sphere when it's like yes all day you're inundated with stuff that annoys you from like the CNNs and the MSNBCs of the world, but then like when you find stuff that goes the other direction that you might even agree with but don't like the way it's presented, it just reminds you how alone you can actually be when you're kind of politically homeless as far as where you fit in within the current culture, I guess. So.
I just I resent a lot of the framing around this right now.
Well, it would be one thing if they didn't champion it so much. If they didn't champion mental health and raise Black voices and all these things when it fits their narrative, it wouldn't be so abhorrent if they didn't go completely the opposite direction as long as they're on message.
If Kanye's fans were out here genuinely claiming that it's okay for Kanye to threaten people because he's mentally ill.
Yeah.
If they were actually out here saying that, I would understand. But they're responding as if that's being said, and it's just, I haven't seen it. There's no evidence anyone is saying that. So I think it's just intellectually dishonest.
And this story will keep evolving because he doesn't seem to have any inclination of stopping. So we will follow it as
I just want to know if he's going to announce, like, he's moving to Rumble, he's getting on Gab. Like, I just want to know because he he can be successful with support from the public and without it. That's the like magic of Kanye's ability to understand relevancy and to understand like media presentation. It's one of the reasons I thought he and Kim were such a power couple, because like he is so divorced from needing to comply with public opinion, but he is well aware of it, and she is able to capitalize off of but she knows how to market to it, pursue it, and turn it into cash. Like,
that is kind of like an actual power
They were
couple,
an actual power couple. No one appreciated it, including Kim Kardashian.
And he still speaks highly of her. I really hope that can be repaired. It's just, she's doing everything she possibly can to make it impossible.
I think she should embrace like how unusual he is, because in some ways it took her, and you can see this really direct comparison is to her fashion style. Like, he made her a fashion icon because he was like, you have to just not like stop pursuing trends, you have to set trends yourself. And like in the same way that I always think, if you know businesses or people that are getting purged from social media, like ask critically why, because maybe you don't agree with what they're saying, but you should understand what message is being pulled from tech by these big companies. Like Kim Kardashian should look at Kanye West and be like, what about you is captivating public attention even when people hate you, because I can probably turn that into money. And they would have so much money to give their children. Not that they don't already, but
the hell with bros. Them getting back together is the romantic comedy we need.
Please.
Somebody make that movie, please.
Let's go to super chats.
Do it.
Hobbit said,
do you have all of them? Because I lost them. I had to refresh. You have the.
I have them as far as I know. Yeah. All right. Sorry. Potatoes for Seamus said, conspiracy theory. All three hosts have some sort of headgear on, counting headphones.
Wait, so is that like could I have like the big, like a cone head that I'm hiding somehow?
It's not a conspiracy though, right? He just said conspiracy.
You're just
theory.
Looking directly.
We're wearing hats.
We are wearing hats. I'm wearing.
I need to follow up
fall.
here.
It's fall vibes.
What does our headgear indicate to you? What's the conspiracy here?
What is the meaning?
I would like to know. Also, this is the best time of year
that we're dropping hat merch.
By far. Oh,
just kidding.
If I could get a snapback hat for here
with like the TV logo on, I feel like that'd be so cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Waffle Sensei said, Brett, that was a Harold and Kumar joke when they parachute into George W.'s house and he says, you don't gotta love your government to be a good American, you just gotta love your country.
That is a beautiful thing, and it's absolutely
just doing.
It's a stink bug on my pen.
Oh, okay.
Lovely. That's great.
If it's that time of year again.
Unfortunately. But this is the best time of year except for the stink bugs.
Yeah, it is the best time of year.
Yep.
Center Conservative Mom 98 said, Hannah Claire, not sure if that's me or another mom, but my toddler does love Tim. He thought a man on the street was Tim the other week, actually.
I would have loved
Oh my god.
Deceased. Amazing.
I want to see like just a toddler run up to Tim.
And he's like, what is this?
Especially like your poor toddler's gonna be really confused heading into winter as more and more people don headwear.
More beanies.
Yes.
Yep.
Caper2X said, NASCAR, Hannah Claire Brimelo.
That's you.
That's me. I'll figure it out, team.
Johnny Derp said, hoping to bag my limit during tourist season. What does this mean?
Was that in reference to something from earlier?
Don't know.
That was from earlier.
What's tourist season? Tourist? Like
tourist
traveling?
Season is different depending on where you are, but
I don't have that. I don't have the super chats here anymore, so I can't tell.
Or are you saying Taurus, like the zodiac sign?
No, tourist.
Okay, that's what I got.
I watched the original, like the Zodiac movie the other day, and it was one of those things where I remember like loving that movie. I couldn't like I don't know if my attention span has just gotten worse, but I couldn't pay attention. It's weird. Like usually the older movies I have an easier time paying attention than newer movies. Like something about the familiarity of it like allows me to sink back into the story better. Couldn't focus on it at all.
Tacty Platty said, Hannah Claire, the bookstore in Berkeley Springs is a good idea, but how about Shepherdstown a little bit closer? It's the most pro-Biden area I've seen nearby.
Shepherdstown has its own bookstore right now. Although, I will say, Shepherdstown's having... I don't know why I'm doing this, but Shepherdstown's having their annual community something book sale. It's in their downtown. It's not affiliated with the bookstore. It's huge. It's awesome. There's cool stuff there. You guys should go if you live within driving distance. Berkeley Springs doesn't have a bookstore, which is why it needs one. And like I said, it has a lot of tourist traffic. I also think that independent bookstores are great for communities, and I think Berkeley Springs is a really wonderful community. I don't live there, so don't think I do.
There was also a super chat, or not, I'm sorry, there was a comment in that Alan Moore article, I was just thinking about this, where somebody says, we've already got a superhero fighting against fascism. It's Joe Biden. That was one of the comments. And
please say that's a bot.
I couldn't tell if it was joking or not.
It's Joe Biden himself.
Can it please be a bot?
I hope so.
It's Hunter. He's like, I've got it, Dad. Don't worry.
Hobbit said Kafifi all over again.
Yeah, basically.
Quiet Inari said Sarah Silverman said Jews killed Jesus and she'd do it again. I don't care her opinion on anything. I think you mean about her opinion on anything. Yeah, she's one
awful.
of those Twitter fingers people.
What does she do now? She was like a comedian for a minute, right?
She is Sarah Silverman. That's what she does.
Interesting.
Not Alan Rogers said, what if Lizzo is just really strong, though? She's just the most buff woman to ever live.
I like the idea that like it's actually been more awful than that she's actually been wearing a fat suit the whole time, and it's actually just a character she's playing.
That would be
more interesting.
That would be an insane twist.
That would be a more interesting twist.
Takti Plati said, as a Hispanic, I hate being expected to be woke / Latinx.
Is that expected of you guys? Like, is everyone expected to be woke? Like, do I fall into that category now as a Slavic person who is now technically considered a person of color?
You are?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Slavic people are.
According to whom?
According to I forgot the name of the. Somebody would be able to. I could look it up. It was like, yeah, they now put Slavic people into the people of color category now.
Matt said, please review Kris Jenner's masterclass on branding.
There was
I would
absolutely love to do that.
Do you have to pay for a masterclass?
Tim, it's a company expense.
I think they do.
There was also a George Bush one on handling adversity or something, if I remember correctly.
And Matt also added that Hillary Clinton has one on resilience.
There's a Reddit thread that says Slavs officially recognized as a community of color and can say the N-word now. I don't think they mean the N-word part.
Oh my goodness.
That's a Reddit thread. But they are according to what was the group? There was like some organization that says the Coalition of Communities of Color says that Slavic people are now people of color. So
I've never heard of this.
Neither have I.
Luis Aguilar said when she's a 10 but listens to Demi Lovato.
Guys,
she has some bangers from back in the day though.
Is she still like? What is she doing these days?
She's still making music.
All I know is her from her crazy like gender headlines.
She put out a new album recently, but like all of those gender headlines came out immediately before the album, so you know what that was.
Yeah, or like one was before her podcast launched or something, right?
Yeah.
Also, guys, what you should do is go watch the Ben Shapiro video where he breaks down the music in her album, and it's just
Demi Lovato's album.
It's like
no one loves pop music more than Ben
My
Shapiro.
favorite part is I'm just picturing Ben like in his office doing this with a Discman on his lap, going like this. He's like,
writing notes periodically.
I love this song.
I hope he did this in high school.
What does this mean?
I hope he did this in high school too. Yes. He's like actually always been a huge fan of pop music.
Speaking of Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, what you guys should do is go and get 35% off
of a Daily Wire
membership.
You can use our referral link, which is in the description, and you can also use it to get $12 off a Jeremy's Razors Founders Kit. It helps us earn points in Jeremy's Razors competition for his McLaren. You can also get $250K if you win. So
which we're
going to pick a charity that will get a third of that prize money.
Maybe two charities, half for me and half for you.
No, I think we should agree on one.
How are you guys?
That'll be a challenge in and of itself.
How are you guys doing in your like leaderboard status?
I'm not checking. I don't
know if they have a public leaderboard.
So you don't know?
I don't think
winning?
they do. Yeah, but we know that there was one YouTuber who was like in the lead. We just don't know if he still is.
Yeah. By the way, what the hell does Hillary Clinton know about resilience other than
if you're a psychopath, you don't need resilience.
Yeah, like how to take out your political enemies like on a regular basis.
Probably just her ghost author was like, I'll explain to you what resilience is. And she was like, cool.
Like you don't have feelings.
She's like, sometimes I run out of hot sauce in my purse and I have to go get more. And that's
it takes a lot of resilience.
#overcome.
Potatoes for Seamus said, "Here's something just cuz."
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much. That is that's amazing. Amazing.
James Orenthal Wen said Rudkowski was the first resident POC of the BMU. What is the BMU?
I don't know. Beanie something. Beanie.
Beanie something.
Shared
universe.
Yeah, it's like our shared universe here.
Beanie Man.
Beanie Man universe. Yeah. So Luke would have been the first. So me and Luke are both part of a community of color here.
Do you guys have like organizational meetings? Do you guys have
yes,
a union?
Well, our world domination meetings happen on a regular basis.
He's Slavic
you mean
as
your
well.
oppression
Yes.
meetings?
Okay.
Come on, team.
Yep.
Dragon's Talon 1001 said Harvey Weinstein's masterclass on intimacy coordination.
Oh yes, let's.
You learn from
go.
the experts.
It's it's kind of like going to the Jeffrey Dahmer cooking school, or was that Bundy that cooked people? Who's the one?
No, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, it's like it's like the Jeffrey Dahmer masterclass on cooking.
Matt said IFCN channel only has 1K subs. Go watch their videos.
IFCN, I'll check it out.
What is it?
I don't know. I
Don't tell
haven't
me to
heard
go
of
watch their
them
videos
before.
without a specific description of their content.
We got a message here recently, a little bit ago, but a guy who wanted to use a clip of ours for like a BBC podcast from like our episode 170 when we were talking about Grand Theft Auto, and I didn't know what the protocol was. I assumed that they could use it anyways because it would be fair use. But he hit me up and asking like, could they use this clip, and I had to go through like.
You trust the BBC?
Well, this guy's
No offense to the BBC.
Why are we putting them on blast right now?
I'm not putting.
I just think all mainstream publications you just have to take with a little bit of salt.
The IFCN is the International Fact-Checking Network.
Okay.
Sounds a little bit sussy. Maybe
Well,
you need to elaborate.
You guys
on
are
that.
understanding my instinct here.
Yes. Well, I'm just like the guy. He came to us and asked permission ahead of time to use that clip.
What is
Uh,
he using it for?
Did we give
for a
it to him?
Yeah, we get
Okay.
like, they give him permission, but it's a podcast talking about the history of Grand Theft Auto and like people
They took
kind
from
of
our conversation about
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto.
basically just analyzing whether they think it's going to get super woke.
Is he a regular listener? Is he
Uh,
going to shout you guys out? That's so
I-
exciting.
He may be.
He better.
Yeah.
I think
Uses
he's
your
our lead-
audio.
It might have been our lead topic for that day, so he
was.
just looked up that like subject and found it
That's cool.
and recommended.
If I remember, he knew who Tim was, so at the very least, he had more background. So
Yeah.
all right, guys, we have more to go because believe it or not, it's 2022, and we have to talk about Scooby Doo.
We're so excited.
I used
Everyone
to really like
loves
Scooby Doo.
Velma.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I thought it was like such a good cartoon when I was a child, and now the modern world has ruined it.
So, as you know, in the Halloween special, Velma is gay, but psych, she's not gay in the Velma
spooky?
spin-off. Yes, yeah, in the Velma spin-off series, she's apparently not gay, even though it's got Mindy Kaling in it, who is considered a gay icon. So I just don't know.
Wait.
But she does have two moms
Mindy
in the episode.
Kaling is gay in real life.
I have no idea. It just
no,
was.
she's not.
She's a gay icon.
How's she a gay
The way
icon?
Lady Gaga is like a gay icon. Like
They
people-
listed her as like an icon for LGBTQ, and like
Literally,
thank you.
how? How do you earn such a title?
Also, like
Without
you
being
don't.
gay.
People just like are people who are gay are like, I like her show, and everyone's like, she's a gay icon. People love her.
Thank you guys, by the way.
So it says, thank you guys. So it says, gay Velma has
Let us
already
know
been,
what color you want the Halloween lights to be.
Yes, yes.
Gay Velma has already been ruined. Has a crush on Fred in the HBO Max show. So guys, what we're saying here is that there's what?
What?
Okay. Did I say something wrong? Because I felt like I said HBO. Did I say HBO Max wrong?
No.
So there's two versions of Velma. There's Velma in the Scooby Doo Halloween, the spooky one, right? That one is the one that is now.
She's
gay.
white and gay.
Yes.
And then the new one being voiced by Mindy Kaling is straight and Indian. So you gotta pick something. Maybe not both, but you gotta pick something to change about her.
But she does have
I
two
thought she was
moms in this
black
one.
and gay.
She's Indian and gay she's like gay and white in the Halloween special and Indian and straight in the series.
And
She's
then-
Indian only because Mindy Kaling is
And with
Indian.
two moms in this. Okay.
Yes, and
It's
what
too
I want to
complicated.
point out here is that this really is, before we get into the details, I want to point out how much of this really is about it's about conquering our social settings, it's about conquering our past. Nobody cares about Velma. All they want is to take everything that was once something else and turn it into something. This is where the term
and they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point for new characters to ruin.
And what in this article, the other article we're going to reference here, where they're talking about it with Mindy Kaling, has the gall to mention Spider-Man into the like Miles Morales Spider-Man. I'm sorry, that's the exception. That is not the rule as far as like changing a character and then having the public actually like that changed character. Everyone likes Miles Morales. Okay, not everyone. Most people like Miles Morales Spider-Man because he was made into his own character. I'm not even a huge fan of the idea of a mantle anyways, but that works. You do not get to put Mindy Kaling Velma on the same level as Miles Morales Spider-Man. Nope. No how.
Well, okay, let me just read the quote and we can evaluate it afterwards. She said this at New York Comic-Con. We knew it would be fun for me to play Velma, and we had a conversation where Velma is white, and we have this new choice to do the show, and if I'm voicing her, should she be white or should she not? We were really inspired by Into the Spider-Verse. It's animation, we can do anything. The essence of Velma is not necessarily tied to her whiteness, and I identify so much as her character. And I think so many people do. So it's like, yeah, let's make her Indian in this series.
They have changed more than a few voice actors recently because they're not allowed to voice characters that are not their race.
It's really telling that this was even a question in the first place, that this conversation needed to happen. It was like assumed from the very jump that this conversation needed to be had. Should she be white or should she not be? And you can't come out of that conversation saying that she should be white. That would be racist.
Yes. So it's all about it's about conquering social land. It's about conquering the social landscape, right? Everything. It's finally this character is this, meaning that the end goal of any character is to be anything other than whatever the hell it was before in popular culture. Because they're creatively bankrupt. I used to push back on this excuse when they're like, they're creatively bankrupt. I think they're both creatively bankrupt and morally, like, just awful people, right? So not only do they want to do all of this social, change everything socially, but they also just don't have the creative ability to make their own characters and have them stick in the public consciousness. So they have to scrape the bottom of the barrel with Scooby-Doo.
And like the idea that Velma or that Scooby-Doo has this dedicated fan base on the level of Spider-Man is such a delusional take. And yet they still find a way to throw shade at the fan base and hate them. If you watch the teaser trailer, we can't show it here because of copyright. Always the same story. It's extremely self-referential to the point where it's basically like breaking the fourth wall and has Velma like almost look directly in the camera and be like, I hate you. This show isn't for you.
Why is this? Okay, what was it that I said earlier? I'm always much better at speaking when we're not on air. But basically the idea is here, they want to tell you that the show is not for you while promoting the show. And even in making the show, by telling you the show is not...
Making direct quotes at you.
That the show is not for you, which inherently makes it for you, just in a way that hates you.
Yeah.
Who the hell does that?
I mean, it's just encouraging, like, self-flagellation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's also, like, more so excluding the audience they say it is made for.
Yeah.
Because they're addressing the ones who supposedly hate them.
And again, I hate just the fact that we have to talk about Scooby-Doo in 2022 because these people make it a big deal is insane.
Scooby-Doo is not going to be featured in the Velma series at all.
All the characters but Scooby-Doo.
Why? Do they not get the rights for it or something?
I mean, I'm sure they do, but they just wanted to focus more on Velma.
This is why I get so upset when they talk about...
You can't race swap Scooby. That's probably
so.
Why.
What's the point of wasting time writing for him if you can't do it? And I want to point out that this is why whenever they talk about this, it's done, it's canon now. This character is this now. They hate canon when it's something that they don't like, but they love it when they can use canon as a way of bludgeoning you and saying like, "Ha! Look at what we took from you. Look what no longer belongs to you." When that's not how the people that they're yelling at are thinking about it. They just don't want their stuff messed with.
I think Scooby-Doo is an interesting choice. I think because it has spanned several decades. I don't know when Scooby-Doo first came out, but it's had several iterations in terms of, updating the animation and storylines, and then there's movies, and then there's TV shows, and then there's comic books and whatever else. It really does stood as an animated series. It's also difficult, like not very many platforms stream tons and tons of Scooby-Doo content, like older Scooby-Doo content. Netflix had like one version of it that was a couple seasons long, but again, because there have been so many iterations of it, it is kind of an interesting thing to bring back, because they're specifically picking something that will become the default if you search for Scooby-Doo on, I don't know what this is coming out on, but like on any major
HBO
streaming
Max.
platform. Yeah, on a major streaming platform.
So now they own all of the Scooby-Doo IP.
And the other thing is, here's like, it doesn't even matter, because in the Mindy Kaling version, she's got two moms, so they still have representation. Those characters just won't be on screen as much.
It's just such an irrelevant ass
It's not
detail
important.
that you can tell they were like patting themselves on the back so hard for adding it.
And played by Wanda Sykes and Jane Lynch, to which I say, like, you know,
Can't.
love both of those ladies in past stuff. Actually, Jane Lynch, most people know her from was it Community? What was Jane Lynch?
I didn't watch Community.
What was Jane Lynch's big thing in, guys? But she plays Spencer Reed's
Glee. She was in Glee.
I'm sorry, Glee, not Community. She plays Spencer Reed's mom, who suffers from like severe mental illness and criminal minds, and does a really, really good job in that show. Wanda Sykes.
She's on one episode of Gilmore Girls as a nurse.
There you go. So you can get great actors for things that are completely irrelevant and don't matter. Like you said, why does that matter? It doesn't matter, but it's all about take that incels, look at what we've taken from you. That's really what it comes down to. They want to take everything that you loved as a kid and change it, not because they want it, but because you want it.
I just don't even know who this is for, though. Like, is this for adults who grew up watching it? Is it for new
All of
kids
that is
to
now.
put on? Like, I don't... The thing that's charming about Scooby-Doo is that it features a dog that loves snacks and is afraid of things, that hunts, like, mystery, whatever. Like, there's something very charming about that title character that is not going to appear in Velma. I don't really understand why... I mean... Look, I'm a broken record. I think it's boring to keep recreating old IP content and just putting your new values into it. I don't think it's necessary.
Updated
I think if
for
you
modern audiences.
Right, and I think if your values were truly that important and so visible in society that you felt like they had a unique story, you should tell that unique story. You shouldn't just muck up something that already existed to try and present your values in an old medium. Like, I would hope that you feel so inspired by the stories that you know and love to be able to portray them in a new way. Like, that's not what this is doing. And I think in some ways, like, being like, oh, well, we're going to courtesy cast LGBT moms to make it seem like they're represented is sort of, I think it should be insulting, but we're seeing it presented as a victory. So, of course, public sentiment will be like, oh, it's a win.
Yeah.
When really you should be like, no, we deserve our own original content.
25,000 upvotes. 189,000 downvotes, which, to be fair, on YouTube, which, to be fair, that's more promotion and that's more eyeballs on it than this would have ever gotten if this controversy wasn't happening.
All press is good press.
That's what they're saying, right? So they're like, at the very least, they're not banking on the 189,000 people that are saying that they hate this. What they're banking on is for that 5% of people who just hear about the controversy and then but have no opinion either way. And then when they're clicking through HBO Max one night, they're like, oh, I remember somebody talking about something about Velma, and then they're just going to put it on. That's the market they're trying to court.
I think it's weird, too, because Mindy Kaling, you know, she was a writer on The Office and obviously acted in it as well. She has the Mindy Project, which did extremely well, had a lot of seasons, had a pretty serious following. She is actually very talented and can create original content well. I don't know why she would sign on to a project that is just pretending to be original content by being like, oh, it's about this character instead of about this character. I think probably she has the creative wherewithal to make something new and original and succeed at that. In fact, I don't follow her career super intensely, but what is that book that they recreated a movie of? A Wrinkle in Time. She was in A Wrinkle in Time remake that had a huge budget. Every movie production of A Wrinkle in Time has famously flopped because it's just a very difficult novel to portray on screen.
It's very abstract and political.
Very abstract.
And I remember,
you know,
Brie Larson having some fantastic thoughts on that.
well, and like Reese Witherspoon was in it, Oprah was in it, I think Anne Hathaway was also in it, like all these girl boss ladies, and it did poorly, which history could have predicted for them. Like, when Mindy Kaling, from, again, this very limited anecdote, is involved in stuff that's recreating older content, it doesn't do well. Not her fault necessarily, it's just a bad business decision. But she's actually capable of creating original content that's good. Why would we waste her time on Velma? This seems dumb to me.
Because she's ideologically driven more than profit driven at this point.
And I want to come back to the part where they talk about finally. Their audiences are finally ready.
Well, when you're asking who is this for, the AstroTurfed audience is like all of this is getting AstroTurfed basically by journalists, because in every article and every headline about gay Velma, it's we've all been waiting for this, and it's like just assume that you know this is part of the cultural zeitgeist, that everyone's always known that Velma is gay. Like we've all been waiting for this to happen.
Dating Shaggy, and Daphne was dating the blonde one.
Also, there's a better argument.
Am I just super like heteronormative, or that's all I like saw was that these
how dare you?
ultimate
How
teenage
dare you
couples that
assume
clearly went to like homecoming together? You know what I mean?
There's a Babylon Bee meme that just said like, people are outraged to find out that Velma, never mind, we don't care. That's all it said. Like, because people wouldn't care. And to the journalists' credit, as evil supervillains, they're doing a fantastic job of making this more relevant than it would have ever been. And we're part of that problem, to be fair.
You know, they're talking about adding Harley Quinn as a character in the Velma series.
Why?
Did you hear about that? Because it's not relevant enough on its own merits. The character doesn't have
Harley
a huge
Quinn
fan
is
base,
becoming the
so they have to
designated
add
hitter
Harley Quinn.
She's becoming designated hitter for HBO
Who is
Max.
also queer baited a ton.
Yeah. Well, I think she is actually in the current run of it. I think she's with Poison Ivy.
Now, even with the new Velma series, they're queer baiting that because they're like, well, that means she could be bisexual. Just because she has a crush on Fred doesn't mean she can't have a girlfriend in a later season.
Don't worry, she could still be cool.
A later season, which, by the way, is not going to happen because this show, we all know, is going to get scrapped for tax purposes in due time. And then they'll blame that on people's racism, homophobia, sexism, that they didn't support the show, that, wasn't made for them at the beginning.
And they're not calling him Shaggy. He's called Norville, which is his real name.
Why aren't they calling him Shaggy?
Because they're just not. He doesn't
like, this is the weird thing. Is like some of these decisions are so ideologically driven, and then other ones I'm like, why are you ruining the charm of this children's series that you're trying to profit off of?
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Because it's supposed to be an adult series now.
And this goes back to what we were talking about before.
That still would evoke the nostalgia that adults that watch this growing up, like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
It kind of goes back to what we were talking about comic books, right? Like they're no longer made for kids; they're made for adults. So whenever you hear people say it's not made for you, actually it was. This was made for you to hate watch.
I think this is the kind of thing that also drives people to YouTube, and you have to bear with me on this like sketchy theory, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Like YouTubers, both who make like vlogs, but also who make their own animations, who make all kinds of content, are more creative. Like they make original stuff, and they make original stuff to stay unique and relevant. Whereas this is clearly relying on subsidization from HBO to exist at all. No one asked for this, and no one really wants it. We don't think it'll survive. Like, it's a pointless project just to prove some ideological point.
All so that we're going to talk in a little bit about, I brought up, it was for the segment. I was trying to think of where I remembered Sarah Silverman from last. And this is how fast the rage, the outrage just filters through you because it becomes part of your life. I couldn't think of what the awful project was that she was on with Seth Rogen last year, but it was Santa Inc. Do you remember Santa Inc.? The awful...
I didn't.
Okay. It's a super disrespectful show, adult claymation show about Santa Claus that's got everything that you could possibly imagine wrong, every type of crude humor, while being super anti-Christian, super anti-family, super anti-everything, and you wonder who the hell is this for? And I couldn't remember, like, that's how quickly it fades. Like, I was annoyed.
It was Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen, yeah.
Just some of the worst people in Hollywood, basically.
And I couldn't even think of it. Like, and it was like, so that's what happens when they try to make new stuff. And even that's not new. That's just an already established part of our culture, Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But not, at the very least, not based off of
High hopes for Violent Night, by the way.
Yes, we're hoping that Violent Night ends up good. There's some fantastic scenes in
Watch
that trailer.
the trailer if you haven't.
So it's just it boggles my mind that this is a viable method that they seem to think works for how they market stuff.
I'd like to read a copy pasta that's been spread around
about
the new iteration of Fred, which I almost believed was real because it's so stupid.
I found this. So this was apparently from iFunny.
I knew that it wasn't like directly from a showrunner, but like you can almost believe it at this point with how absurd everything's gotten. It says, much like the original Fred, our Fred is a white guy who loves to take credit for everyone else's work. But our Fred is also a pretty boy gym rat, riddled with daddy issues, big enough to make Eric Trump say damn. And yet, Fred knows that no matter how douchey he acts, he'll never live up to his father's expectations. Because Fred has a deep, dark secret. He's 16 years old and hasn't gone through puberty yet. Worse, his secret is getting harder and harder to hide. Not just from his father, but from his girlfriend, Daphne, who's getting a little bored with just the over-the-clothes stuff. Fortunately, Fred is wrongly imprisoned for murders he didn't commit. He needs the help of Poor Town's High's least popular student, Velma, to prove his innocence. And while it's weird for Fred to see, let alone talk to a girl like Velma, he quickly realizes her thoughts and emotions have value.
The level, it's just mwah.
Like it's actually believable that was the new like bio for Fred.
I also like that it's fortunately he was wrongly imprisoned for murder.
Yeah.
Buys him time.
It's like I was like I could see them saying this because he's the only one they didn't race swap out of the.
So there's got to be something wrong with him, right?
Well, he's gonna say insensitive stuff the whole thing and be like, they're gonna be like, no, Fred, you can't say that. That's wrong. And
he's gonna be the unwoke douche.
Glenn Howerton as Fred, Constance Wu as Daphne, Sam Richardson as Norville, a.k.a. Shaggy, Mindy Kaling as Velma. I've seen every opinion about Shaggy being race swapped. That's like a lot of people like it kind of makes sense because he's like there's a YouTuber I watch named Fredo. He's like I'm a black man and he's like if I hear a sound coming from downstairs I run the other way. I don't want to go look for it. Like that's.
I just feel like there is too much money in paying people to remake and wokeify nostalgic things, especially remaking them for adults. Like that's enough. It's like it reminds me the fact that this is like a cartoon for adults about high school age children as far as I know. Like it reminds me of young adult books being considered just like a genre they're not actually for. They're just like for anyone to enjoy.
Why it's nobody actually expects YA readers to be YA,
which is crazy.
They're adult women,
which
let's face it.
Ugh, it's weird.
Also, the way you guys think comics are woke. You think movies are woke. You think those industries are horrible. Holy crap! The YA writing scene is one of the most toxic, and I don't use that word lightly, toxic places you will ever find. I used to watch these videos. It's like they like canceled themselves.
To return to our thesis, people buy bookstores who have left-wing ideology. Bookstores go look for books that support their ideology. So publishers know that certain things should be in books. And you know who still buys a lot of books? Young adults, aka teenagers. Like this is a
Wasn't there like a golden age of YA? There was like Divergent, Hunger Games,
I never
Twilight,
read it,
The Fault in Our Stars.
I've never seen any of those. I mean, I saw the movies of
it's all
Hunger
original
Games.
content, you know? I love it. I miss that stuff.
But I know that those were like, but now getting that stuff made is like, what was the one like Zach from Comics Manor covered like this author who like, she like canceled her own book series because of the backlash she got. She was like a Chinese American author and she basically canceled her book because she got backlash because she included slavery in her book. And they said, you can't put slavery in your book, as if Chinese people have never experienced slavery of any sort, as if that matters, as if you had to experience it to write about it, right? Absolutely bonkers. So if you're going to write a YA novel, get your hazmat suit, kind of like that, like me putting on my hazmat suit to check BuzzFeed.
The thing is, like, if you write a YA novel that doesn't have those values, and if there's anyone in the chat who's tried this, like, I bet most publishers are like, no, we can't print this. It's not good. We don't like it. Doesn't have enough representation. Like, it becomes, really publishing is an oversaturated industry. There are more people trying to publish books than there are actual books that will get published in a year. And like, people who either have these values or are willing to cave to the values will get their book out. And it's kind of sad and toxic.
Let's go super chats.
Hypebot said, Mindy is the brown part of the new pride flag, quote unquote, gay icon.
Gay icon. See, I
Is
thought
that how she's a gay icon?
I didn't know she was.
No, I think it's just that she's like Lady Gaga. Like, gay people like her content.
Is she straight? Is she married?
She's straight. She's only dated men publicly.
Okay.
She's not married, but she does have 2 kids.
Remember, that's the thing now, though. They can do that. Like in the comic industry, you just tell people you're bisexual. They can't prove you wrong, so you get away with it. They're like, yes, I am part of this community. That's something they actually do. Like, people who have been straight their whole lives, have been married to the opposite sex, are suddenly like, yes, I once dated somebody of the other gender in high school. You can't prove me wrong.
Waffle Sensei said, as long as no characters in any show are straight and white, the cult can overlook one of these sins.
Or they have a definitive Fred to be like, oh, you're so backwards, you cis white male.
Yeah, well, the thing I said, the whole point of like this is canon now is like, it's literally to tear down cis het normativity. That's what they want to get rid of. They want to get rid of anything cis heterosexual. It's weird.
Waffle Sensei said, Velma only has a crush on straight white Fred right now. She will soon learn what an evil person he is, and she will get set on the correct gay path.
Most likely. That's likely what will happen.
Yeah. She'll be like, why am I even attracted to you? You're such a douchebag.
As if
you just remind me of Ellen DeGeneres.
As if that's how it works. It's like you're so bad. Like, you just like, I don't just go find another guy that I'm interested in. I go literally the complete, because that's how people
Fred
work.
turned me gay. Johnny Derp said, modern entertainment companies are the kid who licks the brownie you were about to eat and then asks why you don't want it anymore. That is all.
That's a great line.
He also said, add Daria to the Velma series. That is all.
Leave
any
Daria alone.
Animated lady out there. Who's that girl from Fairly Odd Parents?
Oh, they mentioned
the
Judy Jetson.
Babysitter that's mean.
Oh.
Vicky?
Yeah, Vicky.
Bring her in. Like.
Yeah. Blinded Journeyman said, didn't Velma have the hots for men several times throughout the shows and movies?
Yes.
Yep.
But it's canon that she's bisexual now.
Also, I want to point out that what we lose the most out on here is that we don't get Linda Cardellini as Velma. That's just, it's a bummer.
I need to stop watching YouTube. Said only a Sarah Silverman could make a Santa Inc.
Sarah Silverman's awful, and Santa Inc. is awful. That was one of those things where like I got through one episode and I'm like, nope. It was that bad.
Were you hate watching it on purpose, or did you?
No, we talked about the show because they were releasing it weekly at that time. I think they released the first 2 episodes, and it was that not offensive, but it was that like blatantly designed to piss you off. Like, who is this for? Like, nobody's actually laughing at this. Mm-hmm. So,
Caper 2X said, with the price of comics as high as they are now, only adults can afford them now. That ended my collecting.
I mean, isn't that kind of why people got into collecting like the omnibus and the graphic novels? Because like you could rather
and
than
Funko Pops.
Yeah. That's even weird.
I don't get those. What is the
it's
appeal
not a
of
toy.
those things?
It's not a toy.
They're just like knickknacks that you put on a shelf, which all kinds of people have those things. But like, why are those specifically so popular? I don't get it.
And they lose their value to people as soon as you take them out of the case, anyways.
Because you're supposed to keep them all in their boxes and stack them up by the hundreds.
Do people still buy baseball cards? Do people like? I still have tons of baseball cards at my back at home in Minnesota.
At least that's like not lame. Like
Like
collecting Funko Pops is just lame.
Well,
I knew some people. I knew this guy in college who had gotten like someone's rookie card when he was like 7 or 8 and was like, this guy's gonna be good, and his mom was like, okay, sweetie, like whatever. And that guy ended up being like a really big deal on like the St. Louis Cardinals or something, and he still has his card like that is now worth tons of money. Like I think baseball
like how
cards.
Much?
I think it's like several tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I could be misremembering that, but like I thought that was such a cool story that like baseball had been a passion since he was a kid. He played, but he was never going to be like a major league player, but he was interested in the cards, and like that actually turned into something. And like as a young kid, he was able to be like, no, I like this player, and he really did become a big deal. Like Funko Pops don't have that kind of legacy. It's like a corporation selling them so you'll buy more and more and more of them. Like Beanie Babies in a weird way did have like a rise in like rarity and like whatever else, but like I don't really understand the appeal of Funko Pops.
Never before has manufacturing error created a better market for valuables, because that's how a lot of it, like, it's not Snort, it's Tabasco. What does that mean? So it's got a different name. There's actually a fascinating, like, I remember I got sucked down into like a Beanie Baby like documentary like one day, and I watched like way more content than you'd ever watch on Beanie Babies.
I'm proud of you. In the .com bubble.
I do have a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card that unfortunately was bent at an early age that would be worth way more if I hadn't been irresponsible as a child.
It's probably still worth something.
You were bending your baseball cards, sitting on your glasses constantly,
breaking my glasses,
just breaking everything.
Broke so many pairs of glasses.
I broke so many pairs of glasses. My dad got me the Jeffrey Dahmer glasses with the bar across the top, and said if I broke them, I had to have those for a year without breaking them, or that's the only thing he would replace them with.
That's funny.
That's my, and
there's your punishment.
And I don't break them anymore, at least not as often.
Caper 2X said, 1,000 Foot Deep End said, it's not for anyone, Hannah Claire. It's about you not having it anymore. But, like, no one even had Velma. Like, no one cared about Velma.
That's why I think my specific, like, point that, like, Scooby-Doo has had several iterations. There have been lots of, like, TV series. The animation has changed. There have been movies. And, like, you actually have a fairly hard time streaming them on streaming platforms. I know. I have tried.
Hannah Claire trying to stream something? No way.
I have young siblings who deserve to see Scooby-Doo because I used to think it was a cool thing, right? So I'm looking for the ones that I saw in like the early 2000s, and like, again, there are not very many of them on streaming platforms. I feel like they are specifically picking content that they know you won't be able to parallel watch and be like, why are they doing this, right? Yeah. Because it's not on streaming. Like, they're like, oh, this will be the only one people can have.
Yep. One more.
Hava Owens said, we're in the era of tainted member berries.
The solution to this really is, if you're a new creator like Eric DeJuly or any of these people that are making their own comics and their own movies and their own this and that, it's to not sell. It's to not sell it's hard because the desire is like, you want to leave something for your family. You can sell this and make a lot of money right now. And it takes so much more work if you want to create something and make money off it on your own. Just look at his shipping schedule. He's working 12 to 15 hours a day just to ship stuff, right? Yeah. So the way forward, not just for your own benefit, but for the cultural benefit of the world you want to see be made from the material that you're creating, is to not sell it to these Fortune 500 companies, to not sell it to these entertainment companies. I wouldn't even say sell it to a platform you trust, because you don't know what that platform is going to look like in 10 years when this is viable for member berries, right? Like, hold on to it, make what you want in your medium, and don't sell. I think that's the best way forward, so that it can't be ruined down the line and turned into something that you never wanted it to be. So.
Yeah.
All right. We got Podluck, guys, and I've got something. I thought everyone knew this Fandom Wire article about Gina Carano, but I want to talk about it because this was something that I showed this to my dad recently, who doesn't really understand. Like, he understands what's going on in the world, but he doesn't just understand how bad some of these corporations are. And I sent him an article about this. It says, this is from Gina Carano, and she says, I feel that's extremely abusive. Gina Carano claims Lucasfilm ordered her to watch trans documentaries, attend Zoom call meeting with 45 plus LGBTQIA members. Well, that's called a struggle session, ladies and gentlemen. That's not actually a meeting.
I said the same thing about being forced to watch the Fast and the Furious franchise. I just want to point that out. Extremely abusive.
I'm just kidding. This is from a recent appearance that Gina Carano made on Tucker Carlson Today, which I didn't know was a thing.
Today and tonight.
Wow.
So the background in this is essentially when she was on The Mandalorian, she remember, when she went to the Disney sphere, you are now property of the Disney weirdos, and they feel a certain amount of ownership over you. Pedro Pascal, who is a huge, they love him. They love Pedro Pascal. He's got his pronouns in the bio. He's part of that community and all this and that.
Are you really contractually obligated to do that?
No. But I'm saying that the people who are fans, the Disney stans on Twitter, are going to have expectations of you. And the idea was, they said, you need to put your pronouns in your bio. She said, I'm not going to do that. And they kept bugging her about it, even though other people that work for Disney weren't. So
is she contractually obligated to do that?
No. But they keep bothering her.
She might be obligated to go to like training sessions that include the documentaries and stuff.
They bother her so much that eventually she puts beep bop boop in her Twitter bio, which infuriated everybody.
Because you can do anything you want.
And she's already on thin ice with Twitter. And when you're on thin ice with Twitter, you're on thin ice with Disney, because they don't make things for you to like anymore. They make things for people on Twitter to hit the like button for, even though that doesn't translate to dollars. Mm-hmm. And then we get her post. She became more and more, I don't want to say political, but more and more open about her views. I used to think that like you can't really classify her as anything, but whatever. She makes her post. It's basically it talks about how, because history is written by the victors, they didn't make the Nazis didn't just inherently take people out of their house right away. They made you hate your neighbors first, and it was basically a call for like, look, they're going to make you hate each other long before the government gets involved.
When exactly was this?
This would have been a couple of years ago now, probably
2018, right? Or 2019?
Yeah, at least two or 3 years ago.
Oh, that's a long time.
So, and then when you find out after, then you find out after the fact, after she gets fired, they fire her for that. Right? They fire her for making those abhorrent tweets. That's what they labeled it as, abhorrent, which is basically like love your neighbor, because before the government gets involved, they make you hate each other before all this other stuff happens, which is not abhorrent. And then we also had, at the same time, Pedro Pascal posted all sorts of awful stuff on Twitter. He put losers in 1940, like all these like the Confederate flag, the Nazi flag, and then the like MAGA hat. Like, so he compared half the country to Nazis, proving that it had nothing to do with what she was saying. It had everything to do, or with the words. It had everything to do with what they felt. They were just looking for a way to get rid of her. And they tried to reconcile with her by making her go on a Zoom call with 45 members of their anointed members that they choose of the LGBTQIA plus community. She said, I'm not going to do that. She said, I'll meet them in person. Like, we could do something in person. So she pushed back and she got fired, and immediately she had her interview with Ben Shapiro. And it just proves to you how dangerous it is to be at one of these companies and believe anything to in either direction of what they believe, right? You cannot deviate at all.
And what she said was a Zoom call with 45 representatives of the LGBT community, whatever, like, I don't know how that authority is put on them, but that Zoom call with that many people basically dogpiling you is just an opportunity for them to screen record whatever you say and post it to, and also deceptively edit it to villainize you. So she was, of course, not going to do that.
Not to mention, it's a struggle session. It's literally designed to just beat you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about this, like I said, I think she could be contractually obligated to do some of these things for whatever reason.
There's other members of those shows that don't have them in her bio. They just went after her because, first of all, they championed her at first. They're like, strong, independent woman. Look at how great the character of Cara Dune was. But then they quickly realized that she didn't fall in line with what they believed politically, which became a problem. That's when they start bullying her. Why don't you have pronouns in your bio? Why don't you use hashtag trans rights? All these things that have nothing to do with this television show and shouldn't have anything to do with this television show. And this was always going to happen. You cannot, they'll go through your friends list. Like, they'll go through who you follow and be like, uh-oh, why are you following this person? Then they'll do what's even worse. Worse than all of this is cry bullying and concern trolling. When they're like, just thought I'd let you know it's a bad look if you're following this person. Like,
thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
I think
don't care.
What I was going to say is there are a lot of big corporations that require people to go to LGBTQ trainings, to go to diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings. Most major consulting companies in the U.S. require this of their workers. Like, you have to log into the Zoom call for the hour. You need to complete these things. And the fact that we're seeing it in Hollywood is actually not surprising at all. We expect it there, and I think this story will probably resonate with a lot of people who are subject to this in their day-to-day corporate life, which I think it is important for people to hear that, like, there are people who did not feel like this was appropriate, who did not feel like they should be forced to learn about these views, or especially if they feel like they are being singled out and targeted, like Gina Carano is sort of saying in her story, like, because I didn't believe these things, they needed me to basically submit to trainings until I complied. And that is messed up. But again, it happens all over the place. She's in a position to talk about it more openly because her story is better known, but like, I bet you anyone who works for a major company in the U.S. has undergone similar things, been required to go to these kinds of trainings.
But what they're saying here is that this wasn't some corporate mandated thing, that they're saying that this was a response to people not liking her on Twitter, which is weird. The cast seemed to have nothing but good things to say about her. Carl Weathers came to her defense. So did Bill Burr, who did a guest episode on the show, all saying that, like, basically she got a raw deal.
This kind of deviates from the ordinary experience of just going through forced sensitivity training for any corporate job, because it was specifically aimed at her and only her.
One person being
I
set
think
to talk
that
to
based
45
on
people
her
is
past
not.
social media posts.
I think that this happens to people, like that they are specifically targeted and asked to attend certain trainings more regularly than you realize in corporate America.
Has that happened to you?
It hasn't happened to me, but I can think of at least 5 people I know who work for major corporations that it's happened to. I can also think
they're singled out.
Yeah, they're
Why were they singled out?
They'll be overheard having conversations with coworkers that are like, I don't really agree with that.
And then someone like reports it.
They get asked to, you get like corporate asked, like, you don't have to attend, but we highly strongly recommend that you attend this training. They'll get an email about that. I've known a couple high school kids. Today is apparently National Coming Out Day. And I know a couple kids who attend these really elite private schools who are specifically asked, they'll hold like a student leadership position at their school. And they'll be specifically given scripts that are like, even though they are not gay themselves, they're not involved with LGBTQ organizations, they are asked to promote National Coming Out Day and talk about it, because the school specifically thinks
they have to, or it's just like, we highly suggest.
They'll be told by their principal. I mean, I guess they could say no. Some of the kids I know are on athletic scholarships. They're not willing to risk it, right? They put you in a position where you are not in your contract obligated to go to these things, but it is clear there will be consequences if you say no. I'm just saying, like, it is definitely specific that she's being targeted, but I do think it happens more than we give corporate America
to people
for.
who don't have a platform like Gina Carano has.
So she says, I was just trying to keep my head down, not cause any problems, work hard, get the next job, be excited to be a part of every project, make sure you do your job the best you can, and keep crawling forward to solidify that career where you can eventually be like, okay, I'm ready. And then she says, talking about
ready to talk openly talk about politics.
I don't think so. She says, talking about trans rights hashtags and her refusal to comply with the company's direction. She says, when I wouldn't hashtag trans rights, I wouldn't put my pronouns. And like they kept on it, pressuring, and finally I just said, I'm not doing this. I didn't even know what people were talking about. I was just not clued into the pronoun thing, which apparently has been happening for like 7 or 8 years now. So it's a form of forced compliance via corporate structure, right? So like I said, it doesn't need to be a government that forces you to do something or makes you comply to do something. And then they go, well, you can quit the job anytime. Sure. But with that comes the Disney press release. We fired her for this reason. They didn't fire her and give her a chance to leave gracefully.
There's also a way you can get specifically blackballed.
Yeah. They waited for her to say
more than other ones.
Yeah. They waited for her to say something that would fall in any line. Which was those tweets, which were those very, very mild tweets, which then got millions of headlines that are saying Gina Carano fired for abhorrent tweet. Did they ever actually? The funniest part is you go to those articles, they never show the actual tweet in the articles because they know that what she said wasn't all that awful, right? That's stupid. And it's a weird form of not censorship. It's a weird form of bullying and rewriting of history, right? So if you put that headline, Gina Carano fired for abhorrent tweets enough times, people will just take it as fact without actually looking any further into it because they're like, well, there's like 9 articles about it.
And then they scrub it. It becomes difficult to find, especially if you're not someone who has a Twitter profile. You can't just search her Twitter page to find it. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I'm glad you read Kanye's tweet that he's in trouble for, because I think it's worth everyone hearing the original text of what the issue is, right? Because we so often get told this person said something wrong and they got suspended from Twitter and until they deleted the tweet, but then we get to reference the fact that they got suspended for this now deleted tweet forever and no one can find the original copy. Like, no one is allowed to judge for themselves. You have to trust the source that's telling you they did the wrong thing.
Yep.
It also, Twitter deletes your tweet that violated their rules before you are given the option to click the delete button in order to start your countdown for your suspension. So it's really just a mental thing.
Yeah.
It's like, in order to get your account back, you have to delete this tweet. The tweet, which is already not visible to any of your followers anymore. They deleted it already.
Which means your side of the story doesn't
It's a psychological game that they are playing with you. But I just wanted to ask, like, is she saying in this first quote that she wanted to get to a place in her career and, like, financially where she would have the freedom to be outspoken about politics?
I don't know what the reference
where
was
she would be ready to do that? Or
I feel like probably.
What is that about?
I don't know what that quote is about. The other quotes I knew about, that one I didn't know.
I feel like it probably means like she has enough streams of income or has enough name recognition
she comes from
where she can move.
Does she?
I think her parents own like a casino or something. I could be
I mean,
be
and she
wrong.
was like a fighter and stuff.
Yes,
like
well,
she has probably had several careers essentially at this point.
She's got plenty of money saved up from
Yeah.
We hope.
the UFC.
Yeah.
And she's getting plenty of work still.
I think this, I mean, if it is financial, like that makes a lot of sense to me. I know there are like, that is one of the major reasons a lot of people don't speak out about stuff they think is unfair or, you know, bias in the workplace because you need your job.
I mean, it could just be talking about like making enough money to be financially secure, not even for something specific, but just for that peace of mind, right? And she kind of falls in the same category as a Kanye West, as somebody who's like, she's not going to back down from what she believes, despite, I don't think people understand. I mean, I believe that everyone watching the show would understand how abusive and how much of a struggle it would be to have every level of the media apparatus telling everyone in the world you're awful, and you have to just hold your ground and stand on your convictions. That's not easy. Like, it's not.
I think she knew she was poking the bear with her tweets, though.
I do too. I don't believe for a second that she didn't know that they weren't gonna. But I think that she has she's a fighter. She's a strong-willed person. You don't get to just push back on someone like that and expect them to cave.
And I think she's conservative, operating in a liberal-leaning industry.
Yeah.
Like, I think she always knew that this was, you know, we didn't know it would be the trans issue or the pronouns issue, but like, I think she's smart enough to realize that like she is ultimately going to be pushed out in some way. Something's going to go wrong. That's why this line of like, I want to be ready. Like, it makes sense to me that if it's a financial planning aspect to it, like when she can no longer be in her chosen career, being involved in Hollywood, she'll be able to transition to something else because she's prepared for it.
It's also annoying when you find out that everybody else that talks about her, that worked with her, has nothing but amazing things to say about her.
She even looks like a pleasant gal.
Yeah, she does.
You know?
I was the original Gina Carano stan on the show.
The OG. Yeah, when you are inevitably pushed out for poking them, then there is this like small but growing ghettoized space in the entertainment industry that is there to welcome you. I don't know if it's better or worse necessarily, but like I'm sure you have to uphold certain standards of behavior there too.
And I guess then it becomes about where does your value system allow you to, like, how much do those values of yours matter to you? Like, do you does the need to speak out about something that you believe in, does the desire to not put your pronouns in your bio because you're being bothered by people to do so, is that need to do that strong enough that you don't mind working in these spaces that are considered less than the Hollywood apparatus?
Yeah.
And that is something that's growing and will take years to form and reach its own kind of height of greatness. But you can't get there without putting in the work, and these people are laying that groundwork now to build up something. And there is some truth, a lot of truth in the idea that the best way to take away Hollywood's power is to stop acting as if they're the source of where all legitimacy comes from. Stop looking to them for approval and affirmation and start making your own stuff, and that's what they're looking to do.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to mention Gay Superman. I do.
Okay.
I do. So guys, Velma, we're done with Velma. They have canceled Superman, Son of Kal-El, the Tom Taylor book that for months he's been claiming like it's selling so well, and like Wes from Thinking Critical has done a lot of videos talking about it. He's like, oh, let's look into that, and of course it's not actually true because nobody gives a crap about Jonathan Kent Superman being gay and coming out to a different character every week, because that's not really what people want to watch read Superman for. They want to read Superman for heroic tales of him saving people and things like that. So
I'm surprised that it was around for a year and a half.
That's
a long time.
DC Comics, I think a year and a half maybe from conception, because I think that first issue came out right when this podcast started.
Really?
And that first
it says it's been in print for a year and a half, though.
Okay. But he might not have come out in those first issues. Maybe he didn't come out.
So they were like planning it for the long game.
I remember when this first started talking
it was
about
like
it.
we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary on December 2nd, and I remember we talked about
What are you guys going to do for that?
Birthday hats and
are we going to eat cake?
And kazoos. We should eat cake. It says DC Comics has canceled Tom Taylor's gay Superman comic book after only a year and a half of being in print. I want to point out that there was this really funny panel that somebody showed, it's literally like his boyfriend Jay Nakamura gives him like a pride flag cape, and I'm like, God, dude, just the character can be gay, that's fine, but maybe like actually do something that doesn't have anything to do with his sexuality, because that's not what people are reading it
That's
for.
his only personality trait.
That's
What do
his
you
only
mean?
personality trait. You've turned him into a freaking stereotype.
I don't know exactly how to word this or like articulate this, but like making him gay already requires so much forethought that of course it's going to take center stage.
Yeah, they don't know how to. Yeah, they don't know how to do it.
You can't make that a peripheral aspect of his personality.
Which is ironic, because that's what people want. People don't want their character's sexuality to be the most important part about their character, right? They don't care who they're sleeping with most of the time. It's fine if it's played for a backstory or something to do with a side aspect of the character, but it's not supposed to be the most important thing about a genre that has nothing to do with sex or sexuality. Not
for me, it's
inherently.
like whether it's heavy-handed and taking the center focus, or if it's just sprinkled in as an almost like a super subtle thing, like in Lightyear, that same-sex kiss scene that was like barely even noticed. I take issue with both things, because you know that both things required the same amount of forethought, and it's with the same motivation. It's social engineering.
But would that matter to you? To me, that wouldn't matter as much if there wasn't as much promotion about it beforehand, right? If they don't give me 9 months of promotion about why it matters and then only put it in there for a few seconds, I don't care. As long as it's like they don't mention it and then it's in there but not really heavily focused on, I don't care, as long as they're not kind of like we're talking about Rings of Power, how they made all the advertising about diverse cast, and then it had really no real impact on the story at all, right? I don't care if they make it an inconsequential part of the story, because it's not supposed to be what the story is about. Just don't market it on that for the first 8 months of its run.
I don't remember exactly what Chris Evans said, but did he not get pressed about like homophobes after Lightyear came out?
Yeah, well, he said that
like on Twitter,
he got mad because it got banned in Saudi Arabia and other countries, and talked about how they were.
Yeah,
backwards.
but even that was
Is he allowed to
thought
say
of
that?
beforehand.
Apparently.
They knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, well, they do.
That's
that.
been happening with Marvel movies as well. Like that was a planned part of it too.
Yeah.
No matter how subtle the actual part.
We're such a nice, cynical
was.
group. We're like, it's all planned. They know what they're doing. They're just virtue signaling.
Here's the thing. I don't care if they do it and plan it. Just don't brag about it. It's not something to brag about, because it's not. It's just who you are. I don't care. Nobody cares. Just make the character like that and stop talking about it. That's fine. Have him save people.
Do you think, like, in our culture right now, we don't know what makes people interesting outside of, like, their strange sexuality, or not?
I think Hollywood
strange
doesn't
gay,
know.
but, like, you know what I mean? Like, they can't understand why people would be interesting to other people unless it was one of these ideological reasons.
They're so obsessed with it. They have tunnel vision.
Like, they don't know what. I'm going to reference one of my favorite shows, which is Gilmore Girls. Like, at the time, it was kind of a novel TV show because the scripts were like twice as long as they should be, because the characters talk so fast and they had all these references. Like, they were sort of fresh and new and unique, right? Yeah. Now we don't know how to make people interesting to other people, because all we know is how to talk about their, their identity markers as deemed by politics.
Is it because the internet is an infinitely more interesting place and they'll never be able to live up to like the endless amount of stuff you can just look up online?
Or like, can we not, or are the like traditional superhero values like in some way demonized by not liking masculine traits? Like we can't like superhero or what is this one? Superman being courageous and like altruistic and whatever else, like,
and also just being superior, like inherently.
I believe there's an issue where he's a climate activist too, where he's like protesting climate change. I remember seeing that cover. My favorite part of all of this is just because Tom Taylor is insufferable on Twitter. That's what I remember. Like you have to like, you can't just hire somebody.
Let's see what he's posting.
Like you can't just hire someone who can write the character, make the character gay, but not in an insufferable way, do his work and call it a day. You have to hire someone who will then make it an insufferable thing to follow as well.
I just don't get it. I don't get the appeal of any of this.
Okay.
And then if I remember correctly, he's not portrayed, he's portrayed as straight on Superman and Lois because the character was originally straight to begin with.
Also, they got to work Lois in there somehow, right?
No, this is not Clark Kent. This is Jonathan Kent.
What he claimed yesterday was no, definitely not canceled. It's just morphing into adventures.
They're relaunching it as a new number
we
one.
wanted John to have his own name and his series as his own Superman, and we saw an opportunity to bring Adventures of Superman back alongside Action and Superman.
Yeah. So it says, the gay Superman ongoing has been canceled and instead only gets a 6-issue limited series, probably with a bunch of variant covers to artificially increase sales. Action Comics features 3 Superman stories, and Clark Kent is back as Superman in a new ongoing. So he's shifting the goalpost and pretending like nothing's changed. Tom Taylor's insufferable from, like I said, I don't read the comics anymore, but I follow enough of comics YouTube to know that Tom Taylor is insufferable. So just thought we would mention that because, like you said, when this stuff happens, they always have limited shelf life because they don't actually live and die on their stories. They live and die on a bunch of superficial characteristics that might get you one issue of interesting stories but can't be the backbone of interesting storytelling unless you're creatively bankrupt and don't know how to write otherwise. And before we go, we've got 2 things. What? Did you see something interesting?
I'm just looking at Tom Taylor's
awful?
Twitter, and it's just bad.
I told you. He's insufferable.
His pinned tweet was his announcement of his contract with DC. And one of the pictures he shared was a DC Pride poster for Superman's son of,
Kal-El.
Kal-El.
Mm-hmm.
And it's... Okay, it's Superman like grabbing a purple-haired teenage boy by the collar, about to kiss him.
Yep. Jay Nakamura.
Like what?
Yep. All right, guys, we've got good news though. Tom Taylor might suck, but Tom Cruise,
Here's
is
a
great.
Good Tom.
He's going to outer space to film his next movie.
He's talking with the director of The Bourne Identity.
Yes.
They're in talks about Universal making a film
What do you think?
Shown. They'll film it at the International Space Station.
What do you think, Hannah Clark? Mission Impossible 12?
Well, I kind of...
Outer space?
Again, like, as we all know, and I will not watch all of the Mission Impossibles, I don't necessarily think we need 12 of them. But I will say the International Space Station is scheduled to be dismantled and brought back to Earth. So in some ways, I think it'd be cool to film a movie there before it was done. And maybe some original content, but...
when is that going to happen?
I think it's scheduled for 2025, or maybe I'm later than that. But it was like a weird article to read. So they're like, "Don't worry, we'll just bring it down into the ocean."
It's so awesome. So it says, "I think Tom Cruise is taking us to space. He's taking the world to space," says UFEG Chairman Donna Langley. That's the plan. We have a great project in development with Tom taking a rocket up to space, to the space station shooting. So what movie? What do you think, guys? What should we do if we were to
maybe he'll make an original movie in space,
or
not a Mission Impossible,
like how the moon landing wasn't faked, and then they go up there to film it.
I think like fake filming in space has been done pretty well.
Yeah.
So I don't know why this would be necessary unless it's just for the bragging rights, like he does his stunts.
Yeah. I just want to know. Yeah, I think that's why he's like, I'll do this, but if it's actually in space.
Yeah.
I also feel like given that Elon Musk and Virgin Mobile guy are all like sending people to space, like it's good. Let's embrace that we are sending Hollywood to space as well.
I'm telling you,
it's just like On Location, but more interesting.
I'm telling you, what we need to do is find a way to bring back his character from Collateral, even though he, I don't know. Okay,
I do not know.
And have him go on a mission in space from Collateral. I'm all about it. So, all right, and Mary, to finish things off, we have some good news. Now we have some not so good news. Do you want to tell everyone about what happened?
Yeah, there was a Twitch streamer who was actually a porn star, but they forgot to mention that.
Well, this one mentions it says porn star Adriana Chechik.
A lot of the headlines left that out conveniently.
It's very nice of them.
She jumped into a foam pit at TwitchCon over the weekend and literally broke her back in 2 places, had to get taken out of the convention and got like a rod put in her back to like she also, by the way, I found out that this foam pit was only like a foot deep, maybe like 2, and at the bottom of it was just concrete. Because at first I was like, how do you break your back on foam blocks? But actually, like, apparently it's really important that you have like at least 6 feet and then a trampoline base at the bottom of a foam pit, or else people will literally get injured by it. And the video is so hard to watch because like watching,
I'm not gonna play it because I don't know if that's
also like, did they warn her? Like, even if she jumped in with her legs down, right, she probably still hurt herself.
Guys,
she kind of did like a cannonball type of move.
$9 from the next crisis party. Just like
okay, she landed right on her tailbone, and like it's really hard to watch because I just like it gives me the heebie-jeebies. I
never did like one of the worst things in skating, and I'll tell you this right now. Everyone is like, "Oh, I love like they're like, do you like jumping in foam pits at skate parks?" No, it's the most dirty, disgusting thing.
Yeah, but they smell terrible.
They're disgusting. Like the last thing you ever want to do is to go to a skate park foam pit. And I have seen some awful falls. Where people like miss the foam pit or like land on the side, and you're just like, ugh. Yeah. Like this is like the worst case scenario.
And another person dislocated her knee jumping into the same foam pit because it was like a foot deep. So what did you expect?
It
just doesn't look like it doesn't immediately look like it's that shallow.
There's a fantastic getting her back blown out joke in here somewhere, but I don't know what it is.
It's the joke that literally everyone on Twitter is making. So thank you for for adding that one.
Is she more known as like a Twitch streamer now?
I'm not clued into like the Twitch landscape.
Yeah. So, but a lot of people were talking about this over the weekend. I just thought it was. I mean, I guess it's womp womp womp, but I kind of just feel bad for her. Like that. Like nobody wants to like do something.
It's terrifying.
Like that.
Also because they didn't follow the most basic safety protocols after this happened. They took her out of the foam pit, which if someone has a back injury, you were not supposed to move them around. They picked her up and moved her out of the pit and like laid her down somewhere before medics got to her. Yep. Which is like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
No, maybe she sues them.
Maybe. I heard there was also like another person who got a serious injury, and then the other person who was jumping with her in the video said they felt like a shock in their body when they jumped down, but they didn't get injured. So I don't know. I guess they signed a waiver. Does that like give them?
Well, not if it's not set up properly. If it's not set up properly, it probably doesn't cover it in the waiver. Like, like if they find out that they were supposed to set it up differently and they didn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I also
organizer of this event is like, set it up properly. What do you mean? We
Burger
put foam
King,
in a pit.
Burger King had a set up like in a foam pit at the same convention, and theirs was like 3 feet deep. Again, like just why? What are you doing? And in the foam pit
not
for
much
Burger
for
King,
regulation, but maybe we need some regulation in place
like,
for.
Why are we?
Adults jumping in foam
having
pits?
Giant foam pits at conventions anyway?
For adults.
Well, and also like, again, I'm not a crazy COVID person, but like,
ew,
gross. Like everyone is sweaty at these conventions. They're wearing like perfumes and makeups and body. Like, stop! Don't jump into something that's absorbing all of that, and then just like when you hit it, puffing it back out on you. This seems obvious.
Yeah, especially the Burger King one, which is just like a bunch of foam burger patties that are like the square shape. Like that's just
so
gross.
they're coming for Wendy? That's crazy. Wendy should sue them.
You should.
Yeah.
Wendy's is the best out of all those anyways.
Yes, so true.
So super chats.
All right.
A couple there.
Tyler W. said all of her show colleagues had nothing but kind things to say about her when asked to denounce her, even Pascal. This was all on HR and maybe the executives.
Yeah, I mean, HR departments really are the enemy of the people. You know, they're like the media is the enemy of the people. I think HR departments are the enemy of the people these days.
Waffles Sensei said, did Hannah Claire watch Tokyo Drift, or is she still resisting the struggle session?
No, it's my off week. I didn't have to watch it this week.
She doesn't have to watch it till... Oh, and then you're not going to be here
Yeah, I
next
won't
week.
be here next week, but maybe
Sounds
to do so,
convenient.
I'll like make up and watch several. I won't, but you know, maybe I'll try.
Louis, what?
Oh, no. Next we got one more.
Louise Aguilar said, Brent, I watched Collateral last week on your recommendation. Great movie. We need more villain Tom Cruise.
Well, you know, you say such a nice thing about my recommendation, but then you call me Brent, which is not a thing.
Who sent that in, Dave?
Luis Aguilar. So there is no Brent here.
I bet Dave put him up to it.
It could have absolutely been Dave. Oh, there's a stink bug. I'm like, monitor. There. He's trying to get me. All right, guys. Thank you. Oh, we got one more that just came in.
Okay.
2 more.
I don't see them yet.
No, they're not there yet. So one from Bobcat says the Burger King wasn't foam. It was their burgers.
It was just real burger patties.
That's
Why do I feel like that would
Kinda
be more
gross.
sanitary than like foam?
1,000 Foot Deep End said, for one more crisis party since we missed out yesterday.
yes. Let's go.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna. What I will do is we can just do this and then go straight to crisis party.
We can crisis party our way out.
I can.
I'm trying to look for the Azalea Banks quote about space tourism and how it's like spiritually gay.
Does Azalea Banks have strong takes on that?
Yes.
What
Yeah,
are
like
they?
she was very angry about the increase in space tourism among like tech executives.
Why?
She had a very compelling case, but I can't find it because she said so many controversial things since then.
and you want to quote them exactly.
Yeah.
Guys,
That's like the most important part. When someone has a great hot take, you're like, I have to read you the exact line.
The way she words things is just perfect.
I think Mary's money gun has broken. We're gonna need to check
Oh,
the
no.
manufacturer's warranty on our like Frankenstein money guns.
The
that have
warranty, aka Chris Poole.
been- Yes, Chris, we will need you to check and tell us what it is.
Okay.
You find it?
No.
Keep looking.
But also, I had a screenshot of Azalea Banks' story where she's calling out Kanye.
Oh yeah, like that was actually really funny. What'd she say?
Let me find it. Can't tell if I sent it.
She's
to
coming out of
you or
retirement.
me.
I thought she retired.
Retired from music?
Yeah, wasn't she the one that retired? Or is that Iggy Azalea that retired from music?
I don't think
One
so.
of those two retired. Somebody else knows.
I mean, she definitely hasn't retired from social media. That's for sure.
No luck?
No.
Setting it off manually.
I thought you already did.
No, I said no, the money guns. I set off the money guns.
Oh, okay.
But I think that one's...
Don't tell them your secrets, Brett.
I'm not-
they control the money guns in crisis parties.
we
Well,
will
they
have to-
do,
Well,
unless
they do.
we need to.
Yes. So, well, we have to give the people what they want. They might get 2 now. They might get an extra one. At least the lights. So, all right, Hannah Claire, thank you so much.
Hey,
Let
thank you for
everyone-
having me.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You can find me on some other platforms probably. You can definitely find me on timcast.com. Click on the read tab and you should 100% follow Timcast News on Twitter. You can see the articles that we're producing every day. We have a ton of really great journalists and I highly recommend you check them out and follow them immediately.
That was a fantastic outro.
Thank
that was
you.
really
Some
good.
other platforms probably.
Probably.
maybe.
It's like a weird scavenger hunt that I won't participate in.
Mary,
all right.
let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Mary Archived. They're the same now.
They're the same. And I've been sitting here trying to like manipulate the money guns and try to get yours to work again. We're gonna have to check it off air.
Mine's broken.
It's
It's been
not
working
working.
this whole time.
I know.
It's tired. It needs a break.
Need some water, boss. All right.
All right.
All right, guys, thank you. You can follow me if you'd like to on Instagram at Brett Daswick for the show. We are here, barring technical issues, Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you see 2. I set it off.
Did we get another one?
They just got the second one. So, and if you'd like to follow on social media, we are on Twitter @popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok @popculturecrisis, on Instagram @popculturecrisisPod. If you'd like to listen rather than watch the podcast, we're on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, and Spotify. And we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.